good choice of picture.
I think the picture's fantastic. By the way, I think we got all of that thing that you just said, and we are live.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know whether or not that all got in there, but in case it didn't, or in case it did, you all will never know what that is. That was not a bad Dustin Hoffman's James Hook. That was I like that. There's a certain feeling of villainy that just comes out when you laugh like that. It's beautiful.
If you say so.
I do say so. I mean, it's weird. I've been hearing this phrase used a lot, and it's kind of like, not to get back into The Princess Bride, but it's kind of like that scene in The Princess Bride where Wesley is climbing up the mountain, and they cut the rope, and they look over, and he's like caught onto the mountain, and the scene, he's like, inconceivable. He's like, you keep using this word. I do not believe it.
Inconceivable!
I do not believe it means what you think it means. And people have been using this word a lot this week for some reason. I've heard it used for a lot of things, which is underrated. And holy crap, I don't think it means what some people think it means. They're like, oh, Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the most underrated shows of all time. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Now, I am a huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. But to say that it's an underrated show is kind of ignoring its gigantic and rabid fan base.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's
such an underrated show. Says who? You're surrounded by millions of people.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody have anything bad to say about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I got my mother to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, and she said
I had something bad to say about it.
And she said we should get a cat that looks like the movie. Doesn't count.
I wasn't going to say anything about the movie. The movie doesn't exist.
Okay, you must explain then.
It ended.
Because we may not be friends in 3 minutes from now.
Did you hear me?
What?
It ended.
Oh, okay.
Which technically isn't a bad thing, because it could have went south had it not ended.
Yeah,
because it was planned out from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. Before they even made the first real animation, before they made the first episode, they had the entire story planned out. Right.
Like, this was the thing that I was actually having a conversation with some folks about yesterday, that it was, as weird as this is, like, when they went to Disney, not Disney, when they went to Nickelodeon, let's get this right, they're like, hey, we have an idea, here it is, it's 3 seasons, what are you going to let us do? And they're like, okay, we'll buy it, great. And then they did production on it, and it turned into this beautiful, majestic, wonderful, glorious television series, which, if you are one of those 5 people on the internet who hasn't heard of it or hasn't seen it yet, number 1, shame on you. Number 2, frequent better places. Number 3, go fix that. It's on Netflix right now. And it's on some other places if you're creative enough, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to acknowledge that they exist. There we are. But
demonetized.
We're not monetized anyway. I actually heard of. Oh, that's another. I'm gonna write that down. We're gonna come back to that, because that's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Yeah. That could be a big thing. But in terms of, like Avatar, and not just Avatar, but there's a number of other movies where I've heard, movies, TV shows, like, oh, it's so underrated. I'm like, who are you not talking to that you have missed the rabid, existing, very large, very vocal fan base? I mean, there comes a certain point where your own ineptitude speaks more of you than it does of everybody else. And when you say that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an underrated show, I think that speaks more of you. There's this anecdote I heard once about this guy who goes to the Louvre in Paris, and he's walking around and he's looking at all the the masterful pieces of art and from Van Gogh and from I can't think of any great artists right now. My brain is dead. Monet and Renoir and all. He sees them all, and he looks around and he's about to head out, and he sees a security guard standing there, and he looks at the security guard and he says, I suppose they're nice enough, but it's really nothing all that special. And the guard looks back at him and says, in this place, the art is not on trial. The visitors are. Because those are pieces of art which have inherent value, which is not dependent upon your personal enjoyment of them. There are some things which have a value that it transcends the individual who is consuming it. And I think we've gotten to the point with Avatar where we can say, yeah, that has some value to it that's beyond just, whoever the weird person is out there. Again, I have not encountered anybody who has actually had a legitimate critique of that series. Not every episode is like the top tier, but the through line and the flow of everything is second to none. Again, nothing is ever without sin. Thank you, Cinema Sins, for giving us that idea. But in terms of a show being as close to perfect as possible, that's about as close as you're ever going to get. I don't know of anything else that I can say is of that tier and that caliber and that quality. Even the sequel series, Legend of Korra, falls drastically short of the greatness of the first one. And so it's like, and not to say that Korra is bad. It's just that it's not the original. It's just not as good.
Well, Korra falls in the same line as Dragon Ball Z after the Cell Saga. It's like it was never planned to have any more, but people loved the universe so much that they asked for more and was given more.
Well, Korra, and we were actually talking about this yesterday, Korra also kind of falls into the trap that Avatar was able to avoid by them selling 3 seasons up front, because they sold 1 season of Korra to Nickelodeon, and the ratings were good, and so that after they wrapped shooting and everything, they're like, we would like more. Well, we didn't plan any more. Well, we got to make something up, and so they started making stuff up, and when they did that, they kind of undercut the value of it. Also, I think part of their idea of trying to go into a more realistic mixed martial arts kind of thing for the bending kind of neutered one of the coolest parts of the show, because Avatar, it's like, hey, we have an earthbender here, and if he's good enough, if he's strong enough, he can move a mountain. And now they're like, trying to do like little feints and jabs and this, that, and the other, and it's like, you're missing the point. You don't have to hit him with the little earth disc if you can just flatten him under a mountain. But that's violent. And I'm a violent person.
I think that was more that bending had become more of an art form and a tool rather than a mode of survival and domination. And so yes, they could have still smashed them with a giant boulder, but it's more it's like Obi-Wan when he picks up the blaster and shoots,
Grievous.
So uncivilized.
Well,
it's like they have the ability to, it's just no longer considered civilized.
Well, the turnabout there is that when you look at real fighting sports like boxing has been around for centuries as a legitimate sport, but it wasn't until you started getting into the late 19th century when they introduced boxing gloves to make it a more civilized sport as soon as they introduced boxing gloves in boxing, the death rate for people in the ring skyrocketed. Like there was like 1 or 2 you'd hear about every decade or so, and as soon as they introduced boxing gloves, it just went straight off the charts. There was like 10 or 15 people the first year, and like, what happened? Well,
they stopped pulling their punches.
Exactly. When you're hitting someone with your own fist, you don't want to break those delicate little tiny bones in your hand. And when you put a nice big pad over that, you're like, well, screw it, man. I'm going to club him to death with this monster. And then they did. And so, the idea of taking something and making it more civilized is debatable. It is very debatable, which I think is actually why the chi blockers and stuff that were introduced, that were much more thoroughly explored in Korra were cool, because it was kind of like a balance point for it. But the whole keep them high and tight, and you're boxing right. It's like when they're doing the pro bending stuff in Korra, I'm like, just screw it. The water benders should have the absolute advantage in this situation. They should just, unless a firebender can keep that fire going through the hosing penalty that's coming at him. Waterbenders just win this one straight up. I'm sorry. There's not a lot you can do here, just because they have access to the most of their element. The Earthbenders got screwed, a lot. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, but getting back to the other thing that just came into my mind when you were talking about getting demonetized, I've been thinking about this for a couple months now. I am someone who has been watching a lot of YouTube videos for a lot of years, and like I was an active YouTube watcher. Like I had, back when people were just kind of going there and just kind of watching this or that or the other, or they're looking for cat videos, whatever. There was a couple people who I like legitimately latched onto and started watching their videos because I liked them as a personality, because I liked their content. I thought they were informative, whatever the case might be. I consider myself a somewhat early adopter of the subscription model for YouTube. And with that, I was totally on board when they started putting out ads and things like that, so that people would have the little pre-roll ad or the little banner ad or whatever it is, because I thought that was a great and not overly intrusive method for me as a viewer to be able to support the people that I was watching, and that seemed reasonable. And I
agree.
And I remember back in like 2010, 2011, 2012, when people first started getting into the partnership program, like en masse, and like the first couple of people started breaching through 1 million subscribers and then 2 million subscribers. Like there was this big pushback from a lot of the audience. They were talking about, oh, you're just a sellout if you're getting monetized. You're just a sellout if you're running ads. And they're like, guys, I'm just trying to make a living here. You guys are wanting me to make 3 videos a day, and I just can't keep up with that and hold a job. So you guys got to make up your mind. Do you want me to make videos, or do you want to not have to see an ad? Because I can just not make the video, and then you don't get the video or the ad. Because like that was kind of the option at that point. Nowadays, people understand a little bit more that that's just kind of a way of life. But then we kind of get what's going on the corporate side of this from YouTube right now, and in that they are demonetizing a lot of channels. And even if they don't completely demonetize or remove a particular channel, they have been demonetizing a lot of videos on pretty much every single channel that I subscribe to and watch on a regular basis. Like all of them are like, yeah, half the stuff that I send out or more doesn't get monetized. YouTube still rolls an ad on it and they're getting paid. But the person who I'm actually showing up for, the person I'm actually supporting, the person I actually like and want them to succeed so they can continue to make more content for me to consume, they aren't getting anything from those ads. And so a couple months ago, I was running through my list of subscriptions, being like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm subscribed to all these people. I got to find someone to cut out. And then I added 5 more. That's a whole other story. I was looking at them all, and I'm like, there are 3 people right now who only sometimes that I'm subscribed to, that I watch regular videos for. There's only 3 people who actually are getting ad revenue. But I'm still watching ads every single video.
Yeah. Well, that's not 100% YouTube's fault. Yes, they could better fix their algorithm that automatically demonetizes channels to stop some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mainly from outside pressures of the ad companies themselves, the people that are giving them the ad revenue, and then also the government with their ridiculous regulations that they're trying to enforce on them, specifically when it comes to kid-friendly content. And it all stems from the stupid stuff that happened a couple of years ago, where kids were watching these videos that are not kid-friendly at all, but they were listed as kid-friendly.
Right.
And I understand where they're coming from, but it's too much. It's too much, and it's causing a bigger problem than it's fixing.
And I get that. And I understand what you're saying about the advertisers themselves being the major issue. But that doesn't actually change the fact that the person whose video I'm watching, ostensibly under the social contract that I will watch their ads so that they gain revenue, I'm being told by that person that this video that I'm watching right now is not monetized, but I'm still seeing an ad. That to me is a problem, because somebody's getting that ad revenue and it's not the person that I want to get it. So
it's absolutely a problem.
For the TLDR version, I know too late, I installed AdBlock. And I just bought YouTube Premium.
I
see, that's the thing. That still doesn't help the people that I want to help out.
It does. It doesn't. YouTube Premium does not count against demonetized videos, to my knowledge.
Well, I'm not saying it counts. I'm not saying it counts against them. What I'm saying is that I am okay. So you're talking about us getting demonetized. Here we go. I'm going to mention a name that's going to get the. We might get blocked and banned, not blocked and bland. Wow.
Well, we're already bland.
Yeah, that's true. But blocked and banned. So the two years ago, or was it a year and a half ago, something like that. There was a big to-do around a channel called around a guy named Steven Crowder, and this was like the first big wave. Well, not the first big wave, but it was the biggest wave. It was actually the second one. There's a bigger one like a year before, of channels getting like massively demonetized. And his channel, because of some comments that he made that someone found distasteful, which I honestly thought were kind of funny, more than a little bit funny. I'm a bad person, I'll admit it. Check my Twitter bio. It says I'm probably the worst person there is, so deal with it. That being the case, he throws out there like, hey, they're just like, hey, we are going to completely demonetize you, take all your ad revenue, you're not earning any money on this. And I'm like, well, I don't want to. And there's still ads running on his videos, and I'm like, well, if he's not getting paid for that, why am I watching these ads? Because I'm watching these ads so that he gets the money. That's back in the day, the guy who because I was not real thrilled with ads when I first encountered them. I was kind of in the whole sellout crowd for like a day.
I absolutely hate ads.
I was in the whole sellout crowd for like a day, and then my favorite YouTuber at the time, a guy named on YouTube, it's Lefty OX. His real name is Jonathan Playtech. He's now a full-time voice actor. He does all kinds of stuff for sportscasting, things like that. He's really, really good. In fact, if it were not for Jonathan Playtech, I would never have made a single video, ever. I just thought what he was doing was so cool. I was like, I gotta do this.
So he's the one I have to blame.
He's the one you have to blame. But just a great YouTuber, and he actually started doing podcasts and stuff like this, which I was trying to copy when I did the Triple Cart podcast with Monster Hunter years and years ago. He was actually on a couple different ones, and I found one by going to another, and then it's a long, complicated story. But he was the one who presented it to me that as the audience, you are not required on YouTube to pay for the content that you see. But the person making that content is putting forth time and effort and energy to make that content for you to enjoy. Therefore, it is a reasonable thing for you to do to watch a 15-second pre-roll ad so that person can get a little bit off the top. And I'm like, you know what? That is a reasonable position. I am 100% on board, and I've been on board for at least 8 years going, I will not install AdBlock. And then comes this year. When I start going through my ads, all my subscriptions, and I'm like, I don't have AdBlock, but all the ads that I'm watching are just sending money directly to YouTube. They're still running all those ads. That's the thing that bothers me. If you're going to demonetize a channel, then really demonetize the channel. They don't make money, you don't make money. No exceptions. If you're going to say you cannot make money off this, there should be a reciprocal thing that we're not going to make money off this either. Is that a fair estimation of how things should work?
That's a fair estimate, yeah. It's not ever gonna happen.
I mean, true. However, there is another channel that I've been watching for years. He's a big German guy. His name is Jörg Sprave. I've sent you a couple of videos, Masters. He calls himself the Slingshot Channel, and he's actually done multiple, like, I think he actually did like a class action lawsuit against YouTube in the European Union because of how this whole AdSense thing was translating to how they were paying people in Europe, and how European law was like, you can't actually do that, because if you do that, then you're counting them as employees rather than independent contractors, and you're still trying to have the personal protections of YouTube being for personal contractors, and you can't have it both ways. You can't treat them one way and then get paid another. It just doesn't work. But earlier this week, he put out a video saying, hey, I have officially removed myself from the YouTube partnership program. So going forward, you all should not see any ads on my video. I mean, I wasn't anyway, because I've already installed AdBlock. But that being the case, he's like, if you see one, let me know, because they have at that point illegally monetized his intellectual property. And that's a very interesting place to be, because YouTube has become big business. And it's all focusing around ads and about getting money off from people, from viewer retention and all this kind of stuff, and how many ads can we run through on the same 15-minute video. All these kind of things are built up around this idea that, oh yeah, we can just kind of do whatever we want. And now we're seeing this major pushback from people who are like, hey, you know what? If you're not going to let me monetize this because it's my intellectual property, I'm not going to let you do it either. And I think not necessarily all of the channels will do this, but as a viewer, and for the record, I have not monetized any of my videos on my channel ever, because I didn't particularly think they were all worth it. There was a point I was getting to the point. There was a time I was getting to the point where I was trying to do that, but I never got to the milestone that I was looking for to make it happen. It was a thought, but I never did it.
Yeah.
That being said, as the viewership, we now have a position. We are. I'm not trying. I'm trying to say that I'm not trying to start a movement. At the same time, I'm actually trying to start a movement. But like, if everybody suddenly started running ad block and didn't watch any ads, YouTube would freak out. Absolutely freak out, because all of that AdSense revenue they've been getting suddenly just stops. And yes, it would hurt creators to a certain extent. Like I said, the ones that I'm watching, and even a lot of people who I don't watch, who are totally on the opposite sides of things from my viewpoints, perspectives, anything else like that. Trying not to be political, but it's there. That's how it's being worked. That's how the whole thing is being run anyway. Let's just acknowledge it as it is. Even people who are on the total opposite end from me are also getting the same sort of demonetization, just rigmarole. And it's like, guys, if we all just stop giving them money, they'll have to change the rules. And I know that this is a tiny little podcast with one viewer. Thank you, Sasquatch, for being here. But it's just a thought. It's just this idea that came into my mind. And I'm like, wait a second. We are the consumer. We vote with our money. Or we vote by sitting through that 5-second ad or that 15-second ad or the banner ad or whatever it is. We vote by not running ad block. By saying we want to continue to consume this content. But when they take away the purpose of us doing that, which is to support the creators, I think it is totally reasonable then for us to be like, you know what? I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm taking back my contribution to this ad revenue. This is the part where you say, Gavi, that was stupid. You're an idiot. You should not have said any of that. You're also going to have to go back and post, and you're going to have to, mark out that point where you said your name, and I'm going to try to remember to do that.
Well, when you start saying things that I disagree with, I will let you know.
Alrighty. That is helpful. Well, I think that's all I got for that. I've ranted on that. I needed to get that out of my system because I don't think it's right.
We started off with a rant tonight.
I'm in a ranting mood.
We'll probably end with one too.
I am in a ranting mood tonight. I am salty as all get out. I can tell. And it's the 4th of July, and I should be happy, and I should be watching fireworks, and there are no fireworks anywhere around, and it's ticking me off. I'm gonna be honest. I love fireworks. Come on.
I hate fireworks.
This explains a lot.
I hate loud noises and bright lights. That is what a firework is.
This explains a lot about our trip to Disney. Because I'm going to be honest, I love fireworks of all kinds, all shapes, all varieties, and so we go to Disney, and I had been to one Disney park ever before in my life, and it was Shanghai Disney, and the big highlight there was the end of day fireworks celebration. And we go to Disney, and you're like, hey, let's totally skip that and go do something else. And I'm like, okay, everything else, like, we were totally in sync on. Hey, let's go ride the Millennium Falcon again. Hey, let's go
again.
Like everything else.
Hey, have we ridden the old Millennium Falcon yet? Let's go do it again.
Like everything else on that trip, we were totally in sync on. But I'm like, I want to go watch the fireworks, dadgummit. Yeah. This explains that a lot. And I get not liking loud noises or bright lights.
We did watch them one time.
We watched half of them from the line to go into the Buzz Lightyear ride. Which I'm going to tell everyone does not actually count as watching it, because you can't see the castle where all the projections things are happening. There's a lot of really cool stuff that happens in these. But if you don't like fireworks, I get it. Someday I will find the future Mrs. Sasquatch, and she and I will go, and we will watch fireworks, and we will not tell you that. Yeah, that'll be a thing.
I can't find Ryloth.
You can't find Ryloth. Oh, are you talking about this thing that you sent me here? It's
sort of, yeah.
It's an outer mid-rim world, or it's one of those weird places. It's either in the outer mid-rim or in the inner outer rim. As weird as that is to say. It's like right on that cusp, and it kind of depends on where you draw the line. I think it's closer to Galactic Southeast, I think. It's been a while since I checked my star maps in Star Wars.
It's kind of interesting that you know that much detail.
I could be wrong, like where it is in terms of the galactic poles, but I'm fairly certain that it is kind of in that gray area between the mid rim and the outer rim. I think it is actually outer rim, but yeah.
I can't find it. You would think it would be in Hut Space.
No, it's definitely not in Hut Space. It is most definitely not there. Let's see. Trying to help you out here. Galactic map. There we go. I was right. Holy crap! It is the Galactic.
Did you find it?
I found it, and it is Galactic Southeast. That is sad.
I still haven't found it.
Here, I'll send it to you.
Oh, it's on the. Okay, I found it. Found it.
Galactic Southeast, right where I told you, and it's right in that mix between.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on that line.
Mid rim and outer rim. I am. On the one hand, I'm so happy. On the other hand, wow, am I a nerd?
Refer to the emoji I sent you earlier.
Yeah, I know. Holy crap! I cannot believe that I did that. That's just sad. That is so sad.
Oh.
For those going into this, I guess Masters has. What is this for? Is this for the?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, a Twitch streamer that I watch has. I had just found him towards the end of Mixer.
Mm-hmm. Was he on Twitch at the time, or was he on Mixer?
He was on Mixer.
Okay. Is this
and so
is this Ninja Wolf or
no?
Okay.
This is not Ninja.
Okay. This
is Hey, it's Crouton.
Okay.
and I found him about the same time that Monkey found him.
Okay.
Like we converged on him about the same time, because like I found him because I was searching through looking for some D&D gameplay, and he was playing D&D at the time, and so I was watching him, and then like a couple of days later, Monkey messaged me and said, "Hey, I found this new guy on Mixer. His name is Hey It's Crouton, and he was playing D&D the other day." And I was like, "I know, I was watching him." So and we like super clicked. And so on Monday nights, he runs a Star Wars D&D campaign.
Right.
That Monkey is actually part of.
I know that Monkey's a part of it, so I was like,
it's super fun to dude. He put the first episode up on YouTube, and the second episode obviously starts on Monday. And they've got I don't know if you know Joric Gaming.
I heard the name, no idea who it is.
He's an older guy, and he is probably the biggest Star Wars nerd I've ever met. Like, I don't know if you know J-Seed, but I would put him above J-Seed.
I heard the name again, don't know who he is.
Yeah. I would put both of them above you.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it is.
Like, that's saying an awful lot.
Like you guys are probably pretty close to each other, but I would put, like, if somebody said name the top 3 Disney nerds that you know, I would put them in that order: Joric, then JC, then you. I
mean, hey, I want to see either one of them pull the galactic location of Ryloth out of their butt in the middle of.
Might have to do that one day. Just, hey, do you guys happen to know where Ryloth is on the star map? And just wait for the. Just see what they say.
That was. I'm impressed with myself.
Impressed is not the word I would use. Anyway, so he's running this game on Monday nights. I was invited to play, but I already have a game on Monday nights.
Right.
That I'm invested in. So we haven't had a session in 2 weeks.
Okay.
For my Monday night campaign, so I actually got to watch the first week of this with him live. And like the entire time, like, because he had an opening, and the entire time I'm sitting there going, could I quit my Monday night campaign to join this one? And I really, really wanted to, but I'm really enjoying my Monday night campaign, so I didn't do it.
Okay.
And so what he's also doing is he's created these factions that are going to be the viewers that want to join in to this world, and we get to create our own characters, and he's going to work with us to see what we're doing behind the scenes while the main group is going through their quests.
Okay.
And to see how we can interact with the world and help him shape it. Basically, just Star Wars is a massive place, setting-wise, and he basically just needs help coming up with some lore.
And some NPCs?
Yeah, some NPCs and stuff. So it's really smart on his side to lessen the load on him. Actually, it might increase the load just a little bit, but it'll increase it in some areas, but lessen it in others.
Okay.
To have more creative minds help him with it. But anyway, so that's what this is. This is a character that I've created in his world to interact with the stream.
Okay.
And so yeah. So what are your thoughts? Because I know you have them.
Okay, so can I just read this straight up, and then we can address all the things that...
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wish you would.
Give me just a second. Let me reach into my Rolodex, not really Rolodex, my archive of Star Wars paraphernalia. And there we go. That's what I'm looking for. I have about 400 Star Wars books within arm's reach of where I sit all the time. That's not an exaggeration. It's, oh man, I gotta read these books this weekend. Oh, those are so good. Let me just find this here. What I'm looking for. Oh, come on. No. Nope. She's human. No. Really? How is she not in this book? What's wrong with this thing? That's very... Now I definitely have to reread all these because she should definitely be in there. Anyway, let me just look this up then. Wraith Squadron. There we go. There we go. I knew she was in here somewhere. Okay, so to read this, Vidkuto. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that.
Kuto, Kato. I was saying Kato.
Vidkuto. It's very, very Na'vi of you. Grew up on Ryloth, but at a fairly young age, her village was raided, and she was taken as a slave. She spent several years working as a slave in the cantina controlled by the Hutt Hebu Belb. Again, is that how you would have that pronounced?
Sure.
Okay. In her early adult years, Hebu noticed her talents in deception and sleight of hand and gave her an opportunity to do a job for him. Should she complete this task, she would be free and given a position within the 1,000 Suns faction. Without hesitation, she leapt at the opportunity. The task? To locate and eliminate a bounty hunter that had wronged Hebu in a recent dispute. Eager to gain her freedom, Vidkuto... Kato? I'm just reading it. Vidkuto. Okay.
Yep.
Took a ship provided to her and began the search for this bounty hunter. After several weeks of tracking this bounty hunter, Vidkuto finally caught up to him. She tricked him into thinking she was a local entertainer, and he invited her to his ship. Once there, she caught him off guard and tried to knock him out. Unfortunately, this bounty hunter was not easy to deal with, as she had hoped. A great fight broke out on the ship. The bounty hunter pulled his blaster and attempted to shoot her. Quickly, she reached out and knocked it from his grasp. The two engaged in hand-to-hand combat. The bounty hunter's armor protected him from Vidkuto's swift jabs for a time, and eventually he wore her down. In a last-ditch effort, she lunged for the blaster she had knocked from his hand and shot the bounty hunter. The shot was lucky and hit him right between the eyes. The fight was over. She had won. She returned to Hebu with the bounty hunter in tow. I think he was just kind of decomposing on the deck plating, but that's okay. He granted her freedom and station in the 1,000 Suns faction, as promised. For making this the last time Hebu would have to deal with his bounty hunter, as an additional reward, he also gifted her with the bounty hunter's ship. For many years after this, Vidkuto was Hebu's go-to informant and enforcer. She currently resides on Kessel, watching over the spice trades and making sure people that fall out of line with the 1,000 Suns pay the price, one way or another. This has me thinking of a different one. Let me pull a different book out of the... Oh. I have that one loaned to someone else. That's unfortunate. What is this one? Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of things here. Number one, is the 1,000 Suns faction something that is already existing in the narrative that's being crafted by Hayes Crouton?
Yes.
It is. Okay. Yes. Can you give me any background on that?
No.
Okay. That is completely unhelpful.
Yes. So that's part of what we're doing is we are creating the background. He basically gave us a name.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically started this thing, and he said, hey guys, if you want to be part of this Star Wars role-playing game that we're doing, I thought it would be fun to have different factions and have you guys a part of it.
Right.
And he listed the factions, and 1,000 Suns is one of the factions. And he basically just has criminal activities faction, smuggling, black markets, extortion, spice running.
Okay.
So that is all the information we have, and we are helping him build out the rest of the information.
Okay.
And we just haven't yet.
Because there are some existing criminal factions already in Star Wars, and 1,000 Suns is...
Well, this is set, I think you said like 3,000, 2,000 years before the Old Republic.
Okay.
Like he said, hyperspace travel has just become safe. Though it's not like everybody has a ship. Ships are fairly limited in the world, and people like the Jedi and the Sith haven't even formed yet.
Right.
He said that people are force sensitive, but most people treat it as this mystic magic that nobody knows what it is yet, and so we're in the very, very early stages of the Force.
Okay, so in that time frame...
And he went back this far for the specific reason that you were trying to point out.
Okay. He's got some issues here already. Because when you go back that far to the point, he is too far back to have safe and or reliable hyperspace travel. The Republic had already been around for about 1,000 years before hyperspace was considered safe, and they were plotting hyperspace routes, and they were charting the galaxy, as it were. And you can't just point your ship at a okay. Let the episode 9 hate flow away. Let it flow, let it flow, let it go, let it go. Can't hate JJ anymore. Let it go. Oh my word. Woo, okay. We can do this, Gabby. Woo. Okay. Whew. This could be rough. You cannot just point your ship in a random direction and push the hyperspace lever. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. And this is actually something that was brought up very well in Solo, because it was kind of a MacGuffin way around doing some things, but having the droid, the L338, I think. I forget her name. I need to rewatch Solo. It's a good movie.
Me too. Solo is my second favorite Star Wars movie.
It's really good, and it's just a good heist film, and then it's got some other good things in there. But
L337.
L337. Oh God! All right, that name. Okay, that's got some issues to it too. But
Leet.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so L337, the use of L337's navigation.
It's kind of on the nose there.
Is really on the nose there. Like they were. Have you ever watched a movie and you're like, that is clearly a placeholder name that was written down just
and somebody forgot to change it?
like in James Cameron's Avatar Unobtainium. Clearly that was just supposed to be a placeholder until they came up with a better name, and then someone forgot to actually change the name. And it's like,
somebody forgot to
L337 is definitely one of those names. And it hurts my soul a little bit. But aside from that, it's a pretty good movie. That being said, the use of her navigational abilities is very, very, very accurate to the idea that you can't just point your ship in a random direction and press go. Because in the general sense that physics do apply to everything in Star Wars, if you were to just point yourself at a star and jump your way there, by the time you got there, even through hyperspace, that star would no longer be there.
Yep.
because it's moving. And so you are not pointing your ship where a star is, but where a star will be. And in case people weren't aware of this, in space, things move really, really, really fast.
Yep.
Like look up sometime. I'm not going to do it right now, and I don't have the number memorized. Look up how fast the Earth moves through space, just as it revolves around the sun, or revolves around the sun. Revolution.
67,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's moving really fast. So for us to leave the Earth, go someplace, and come back is a tremendous amount of math to figure out how to work that out, because you're also not just flying in a straight plane, you're moving in three-dimensional space. So
wait, no, that's just how fast the Earth rotates.
Okay, that's how it rotates, how it moves, how it revolves around
490,000 miles an hour.
There we go. Try and figure that one out on your pocket calculator. I dare you.
I'm sure somebody has.
Well, somebody clearly did, because we made it to the moon and back. But with that being the understanding that, like, hey, you cannot. Dear God, I hate that movie. Okay, I hate that scene in that movie, and I hate certain other parts of that movie. I hate a lot of other parts of that movie, but I can still watch it sometimes.
Which movie?
9. Oh God.
Episode 9?
Episode 9. The more
you don't like episode 9?
The more I watch 9, the more I dislike it. And it starts with the hyperspace jumping, the hyperspace skipping, because they literally just, from an atmosphere, they point their ship in a random direction and press go. It doesn't work that way. Oh. I'm angry. I'm really angry.
Okay, back on topic.
I might need a moment here. Okay, so you can't just point the ship in a random direction and press go. It doesn't work. So he's a little bit early in the timeline of Star Wars to be able to say that it's safe to use hyperspace. There's a couple routes that are probably open at this point, and actually if you open up that map I sent you, they actually have some of them printed down.
Yeah, I've got the map.
Yeah, you can see that there are actually hyperspace lanes and routes that stretch back and forth across the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And actually, the Ryloth is right along the Corellian Run, which is a run straight that goes all the way to wild space, directly into the core worlds and the deep core and Coruscant and all that kind of stuff. It's all along that route. And so these would have been some of the primary hyperspace lanes that were first opened up. So I can understand, at least from your narrative, that your character, Vidkato, would have been like one of those key, and this is like, the Silk Road going from Europe into deep China as a means of trade and travel back and forth. Everybody would have been using this at that time, which is super, super cool. And this would be a really cool thing to look into and try and flesh out, okay, well, how would this actually work? And to be part of, like, really kind of an exploratory force moving back and forth along this route. Super cool stuff. I like this as a setting for a campaign. However, you do have to. If I was crafting this, there would be a lot more uncertainty involved in terms of hyperspace travel. And really, hyperspace travel is the only way that you're going to be able to make this work, because of just how far a distance it is. Even moving as there's a reason that they have two forms of motivation or acceleration on their ships in Star Wars. They have hyperdrive and they have sublight engines. And sublight engines, although some of them can get very, very, very close to the speed of light, and this is mentioned in multiple of the books, they can't break through it on their own. That requires something extra, like like quantum mechanics kind of thing, to open a hole in space and shoot yourself through it to someplace else. So, which again kind of reinforces the idea that this is very, very dangerous, because if you shoot yourself into the wrong place, you kind of get that thing that is mentioned in episode 4, when they drop into the asteroid field of Alderaan. They're like, oh, we must have gotten off course somehow. We don't know where we are. There's this panic that comes upon Han Solo. I thought we had everything done in, and this is not expressed, but it's kind of read into the character. He's like, it's not here. Where is it? They check their course, they check their charts. Where we're supposed to be, but this asteroid field is not on any of our charts. Where did it come from? Well, the only logical conclusion at that point is that, well, Alderaan was completely blown away, which is a great thing, and it really adds to the world building when you start to read into it, although most people, rightfully so, are not going to read into it that much. I'm just weird. So, leaving that where it is, I think if I was crafting this narrative, crafting this campaign, there would be a much greater difficulty involved with getting from place to place. Most
you want all your characters to.
Well, most of the travel that I would have would not be on a private ship. And I mean, that's kind of written into your character here, but not to the extent that it probably, in my opinion, would be. Because to have a private ship is not to say that, we bought a car. It would be akin to saying, hey, I have, as a private citizen, developed a spacefaring vehicle that can reach Jupiter. So basically, unless you're Elon Musk, you can't do that at this time. Now, potentially, they could be a little bit farther ahead in terms of their exploratory features, and so there would have been availability for transit between star systems for people, but those would have been large commercial affairs just to try and cover the cost of it, as opposed to being like, hey, I have my own private space shuttle, and I'm just gonna, go 6 star systems over because I feel like it on Thursday. It'd be very expensive and kind of a slower, more tedious process, especially from that which we've seen in the sequel trilogy. And I'm going to try and stay off that again. Failing, I just want it mentioned that that's not how that works. But with that being the case, there would be a much more. It would have to be a little bit more group oriented, as it were. Now, a large criminal organization, the 1,000 Sons, I could see them perhaps having their own couple of ships that they could send back and forth, because they're a multi-planetary organization. They have a lot of money coming in from a lot of places that they're not really paying taxes on, and they got to spend it somehow to earn more money, so they're going to buy some ships and they're going to outfit them for hyperspace travel. So I can see that, but really just giving a incredibly valuable asset like that to a random lady who did one thing, was a slave, that a Hutt looks down upon to begin with.
Well, yes. Well, it's 100% tied to the fact that she stays with the 1,000 Sons and doesn't double cross them. It is the 1,000 Sons ship. She is just the pilot of it.
Uh-huh. I still don't think it quite works. I mean, because, and I mean, I understand. I am being as I'm rules lawyering this one, because I am rules lawyering this from not playing, and from being, not really involved with the rules, but just involved with the lore of Star Wars in general. So I can understand why you're saying, why you've come to the conclusion that you did. I just don't think that within the lore it really works that well.
Okay.
I think
that's why I asked your opinion.
Let's see. Also, Kessel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh man, Kessel. Kessel is a tough one, man. Because Kessel, it would help if I knew like which continuity they're doing this in. If they're doing this in Legends, Kessel is really rough. And I mean, Kessel in Solo is rough. But Kessel in Legends, you just don't go there. it's not a nice place at all, and it's not like
Well, first of all, this is a made up alternate universe from the everything you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, but it would help if I knew if this was the Kessel of Legends or if it was the Kessel of the Disney franchise. Because if it's the Kessel of the Disney franchise, we could probably make that work. If it's the Kessel of the Legends of the Legends books, it's kind of shaped like a potato.
we're gonna call it the one from the Disney franchise.
Okay, that helps a little bit, and I guess I can see that to a certain extent. But it's still kind of a interesting place, and the cuts don't necessarily have control of it. Well, I mean, I guess you could probably say whatever you want going back that far. I will withdraw that as a thing, as an issue. However,
Well, also the huts are not over the Thousand Suns; they are just part of it.
okay.
As I am making this up on the spot.
Okay, that's super helpful. And I believe I'm double checking this because that Kessel is actually pretty far away from
It is. It's
everything.
I doubt. Yeah, that's.
Okay, actually Kessel's right on Hut Space. Never mind. Take it back.
Yeah, it's right outside Hut Space.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So I could see what would you take to get there? The Parliamian trade route? Okay. Probably you take that halfway and you just kind of hope and pray that you made it through. Man. Like if you're setting it in this place and you're in this era, like you are, every time you push the go button to go to hyperspace, you're just like, I hope this doesn't blow up in my face. Also, since this is Kessel, are you? Do you know that if Kessel is producing hyperfuel or if Kessel is producing spice? Because spice. Okay, that would actually say that this is Legends. You're back on Potato Kessel.
Am I hurting your brain, Gabby? Should I have not sent you this?
You're not hurting my brain. You're hurting my soul. Because like Potato Kessel only has like atmosphere because they are putting atmosphere on Kessel. It does not have, and like it's a thing where it doesn't have an equal gravitational field. So occasionally on the surface of Kessel, all of the like, have you ever seen The Day After Tomorrow? Disaster film, Dennis Quaid.
Thanks.
Global warming leads to this gigantic like new ice age that freezes the entire top half of the planet.
Yes.
Okay. Well, they have this thing here, like when you're in the eye of the storm, it's pulling down cold air from the ionosphere, which is super cold, and it just instantly freezes everything. That kind of happens on Kessel, but there's no warning, and it's not the ionosphere. It just opens up a hole in the atmosphere that is directly linked to the void of space. And you can't really predict them because everything on Kessel that's there to provide atmosphere and everything is artificial, because they can't. It doesn't have anything growing on it to make atmosphere. Like we have plants and things which replenish the air. Well, they don't have stable gravity, so they can't really do that. There's not really a lot of water unless it's brought in. It was a mining operation that turned into a drug operation because they found spice and like, hey, we can get really high on this stuff. It's a whole other story. There's a bunch of different kinds of spice. Yeah, this is becoming difficult because there's so many factors and variables. I think Kessel might be a poor decision. I could see her. Plus, you have to understand, this is a Hutt who is trusting a slave, and Hutts are very, very untrusting.
Over several years.
Over several years,
So
I gotcha.
at the time that she went to go deal with this bounty hunter, she would have been about 19 or 20. She is now 26.
Okay.
So she has spent time. That was just her first test.
Mm-hmm.
She spent the 6 or 7 years proving herself over and over and over again to get to the point where she no longer has to be under the thumb all the time.
Okay. Let's say, and this is kind of the other thing where he's giving her freedom, but it's not really freedom, which is a good thing in terms of how Hutts work, because Hutts never give up their stuff. If you think, probably the best way to explain this is in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. There's Captain Jack Sparrow and Mr. Gibbs, and they're discussing the plan with Will Turner, not with him, but of him, about what they're going to do to get back the Black Pearl. And they finish up their conversation and they toast each other, and it's take what you can, give nothing back. That's the Hutts. Take what you can, give nothing back, and if someone turns their back long enough, stab them in the back and take whatever they got too. I mean, this is the Hutts.
That is her motto. So if you look at her character sheet, personality traits, I always have a plan for when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always calm no matter the situation. I never raise my voice or let any emotions control me. I will do whatever it takes to stay alive. I will become the greatest enforcer who has ever lived. And her flaw is when faced with a choice between money and friends, she always chooses money.
Okay. This is probably not a question that you even knew existed. Which variation of Twi'lek is she supposed to be? Because there's a couple different variations. I'm pretty sure I know what you're thinking of. Okay, so she's a green Twi'lek. Okay.
That was just the best picture I could find, where the Twi'lek wasn't doing provocative things and wasn't well known.
Okay.
Because when you search Twi'lek, you get a lot of Ahsoka Tano. You get who's not a Twi'lek.
Yeah, she's not.
You get a lot of the Jedi, the male and the female Jedi.
Right.
I don't know their names.
There's a couple different ones.
Kit Fisto?
Kit Fisto is not Twi'lek.
Okay. No, Kit Fisto's the dude with the cone head, right?
No, Kit Fisto is another species which also has, he has tendrils that.
Oh no, Kit Fisto is who I was thinking about. But yeah, they have him listed as a Twi'lek a lot of places.
That is definitely not a Twi'lek. Okay. He's a fish man. I can't remember what his species actually is.
But yeah, you get a lot of highly recognizable Twi'leks, a lot of things that aren't Twi'leks, and then a lot of slave Twi'leks. If you catch my drift.
I get your drift.
Yep. And this was the least provocative thing I could find, so I was like, that's what I'm going to go with. However, I have recently started following a guy on Twitch who's an artist, and I might get him to commission this.
I'm gonna throw something at you, and people who are watching, you can look up this name. There is another very famous Twi'lek who kind of turned the entire species on its head when she made her debut. She did not make her debut in any of the films. It was in Legends, but it's a very interesting idea because all the Twi'leks that we see are typically the ones who you would make those kind of rather interesting fan arts of.
Yeah.
However,
That's a classy way of saying that.
However, her name is Nola Tarkona, and she made her debut in the Young Jedi Knight series, which is following Han and Leia's children in the Legends canon. Best canon. Screw Disney. I'm
not seeing.
I was gonna say. I'm
Unless
not. I was gonna say. I'm gonna send you a picture.
That's
Masters.
a her.
That's a her.
That's a her.
This is her.
Yeah, I've got that up.
This
That's
is her. That's a her. Okay.
Ugh.
I know, but she fits your archetype because she is cold. She is calculating. She is very good at managerial skills. She starts her own separate alien-based like resistance group and tries to take down both the remnants of the Empire and parts of the New Republic, and also some parts of different criminal organizations because she just got mad at everybody. Her sister is named Ula, and Ula was the Twi'lek that was killed in Jabba's palace in Episode 6. And sisters. Okay? You're processing.
I am.
Yeah. This is a thing. I'm going to be honest. She is one of the coolest characters to come out of out of Legends, like side characters. There's main characters and things like that, but like in terms of side characters, she's very, very cool because she presents a whole new idea and a new spin. Because the general mentality of when you think of Twi'lek, it is a very hypersexualized female, and then usually like this very, for lack of a better word, scummy, thuggish, nasty-looking dude. A lot of them, or Bib Fortuna is what people usually think of when they think of male Twi'leks. He is kind of the archetype that we follow on that one, who was Jabba the Hutt's major domo, kind of his chief lieutenant, the guy who ran everything. Which I think, based on what you're saying here, and I'm just throwing this out here as an idea, that would fit very well with a Nola Tarkona type of Twi'lek. Still a female, still follows everything, and when they're kids, you can't really tell because they all grow up to be a little different. Aside from color, you can usually tell based on what color they're going to be. That doesn't really change from.
So, do you have any more reference art for this style of Twi'lek?
Nope. I do not. Unless you go to Wikipedia and you just scroll down her page, I think there's another. There's another drawing, but it's not really. It's not really great. I got here. I'll send it to you. If I can. Why is it not letting me copy this image? Let me copy the image. Come on. All right. Good. Just do it this way. Copy image. It's just like a line art, so it doesn't really give you that much information. It's very small.
Very small.
Yeah. But it's a general idea. And the thing is,
she only has one tendril, for lack of a better word?
Liku.
Liku?
Liku. Lekku, I believe. Actually, that's plural. One would be, a single one would be Leek, or L-E-K. Leku, something like that. Yeah. I think making one like Nola Tarkona could really be fun. But you've also seen and heard some of my other character ideas, so you know that I'm probably approaching this from a very messed up place.
You're not wrong.
She's also, just throwing this out here, Nola Tarkona is also super cool because as punishment, because both she and her sister were captured as slaves, and her sister Ula was much more physically appealing to other people, and so she got kind of shoved into one area, and Nola got taken somewhere else and trained in other things, and as punishment, one of her leeks was cut off, and like burned, and then after she escaped, she had a ocular implant put back there so she could see both in front of her and behind her, and she just ran with it. And then to show how tough she was, Twi'leks Liku are very, very sensitive, like very, very sensitive. Like have you ever had a? I don't want to be graphic here, but there are parts of the human body where like just about anything can cause you pain there. Just about. Think of that, but like times 2 or 3 for how sensitive especially like the skin is on the Liku, because technically the interior of that is brain matter, and so they have to protect that. That's the mentality. Like, hey, it hurts. Protect this. Don't let bad things happen to this. It's necessary. And so to show how tough she was, as opposed to everybody else, she had hers tattooed, which is also what you see there, the picture that I sent, which just makes her super, super cool in terms of character, to be like, I can't make it on my looks like a lot of the other ones who are around me, so I have to present myself as being stronger and tougher and more capable than anyone else around me. And I just think she's a great, great character. And despite the fact that she is technically a villain, I love Nola Tarcona's character and how she's portrayed.
Oh, my character is also a villain.
Aha! Aha! So. See? I figured that because she's helping the Hutts, even if she was a slave. Yeah. That's the other thing that I need to discuss, because you have her name as Vidkato.
Uh-huh.
So there's
I went to a random name generator and kept going until I found one that I could pronounce.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in here. And this is a little bit of speculation on my part. I cannot say this is canon, but I from all the ones that I've seen, most female Twi'leks end the first part of their name with a vowel. Like Nola Tarcona, like Hera Syndulla, like what's the other one? Diapasik. What's the other one? Nope, Luminara Unduli is not a Twi'lek. Who's the what's the one's name from the prequel trilogy? Let's see, what's her name? It's Isla Sakura. There we go. All of them end with a vowel. So just in terms of continuity, it may be a good idea. And a lot of males, they have that hard consonant as the first part of their name, and then they just transfer into whatever else. But in terms of which I think is a great way to delineate the two, because I don't also know any males that have Vedakuto. That would work. Vedakuto would work. And then you can call her Veda for short. Wow, I can't speak.
Which is really contrary to what you've proven over the past 10 hours of us talking on a podcast.
We're not there yet. Maybe getting close, but we're not there yet.
No, this is let's see, 2, 4, 6,
7
or 7,
8, 9,
8 and a bit.
Yeah, we're not to 10 hours yet, especially not now.
Well, no, that was before we started tonight.
I forgot about the 1 hour extra. Crap.
Crap.
No.
Yeah. So what are we at right now?
We're still at like 9.5 hours.
Okay, so we're not quite at 10, but still.
You're the one who brought up Star Wars. I am not responsible. Okay, you're the one who brought up Star Wars tonight. I am not yeah, Veda could work. I think that's a good good shift. Did you what?
Oh, I lost my edit button, and I was trying to figure out how to get to it so that I could. All right, so So how are we reshaping this
I think
this storyline to your liking?
I think pretty much everything you have is good. I'm just making a couple of adjustments based on what you told me, based on other information that I have.
That's what I'm asking. What are these? What are these adjustments?
Okay, so Vidkuto to Vedakuto, I think is a good shift, because then you actually start to follow a little bit more of the Twi'lek naming conventions that at least are prevalent. I'm not saying that those are the only ones, and actually I should probably check to see, because we do actually have a really good way to compare the two naming conventions. We just have to look at a particular, very popular TV series available on Disney Plus.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. I mean, for as much as I've dumped on Disney tonight,
we would be okay with it, though.
I say, as much as I've dumped on Disney tonight, I don't think we're ever getting a Disney sponsorship ever. Oh yeah, that's a problem. All right, let me see the episode guide. Which one of these is it? It is The Prisoner. Let me take a look here. Yeah, here we go again. So,
are you good with Hebu Bleb?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not.
I just felt like it sounded disgusting.
Mm-hmm. But that's not
also from a random name generator.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in The Mandalorian, episode 6, The Prisoner, there are two Twi'leks. There's a brother and a sister. The female's name is Xi'an, ends with a vowel. The male is nope, that's not him. Where is he? Which one is he? Which one is he? Dadgummit. 66 photos. Okay, which one of these is guys? Which one of these guys is it? Xi'an. Where? There he is. Ismail Cruz Cordova. Okay, so what is your name in? His name is Kin. He doesn't say actually what his full name is, but it would be Kinan, because his daughter, not his daughter, his sister is Xi'an. So okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So again, Kin ends in that consonant. So I think that there is enough circumstantial evidence to say that counts for a Twi'lek naming convention.
Okay, done.
All right, good. Hebu Belb. Hebu's not bad. I'm gonna be honest. Hebu is not bad. I like Hebu, but Belb. There's a book. It's
Haas.
Hebu Haas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a book. I have a copy of it somewhere.
That's a no.
Well, and not no, but I think you're on the right track. And it's called the Star Wars Galactic Travel Guide or something like that. And it has, for the really nerdy among us, there's this other book called the Klingon Dictionary from Star Trek, where it gives you a pretty good way of translating all the words, or at least most of the common use words from English into the fictional language of Klingon. And people have used this to great effect, to the point that there is actually a city in, I think it's Washington State or Oregon, where a significant enough portion of the population there speak Klingon that they have to print warning labels on products in Klingon because enough people there speak Klingon, which I think is hilarious and just beautiful. But they kind of did this same thing in half measure for a bunch of the different Star Wars language. So there's Rodian, there's Wookiee, there's Jawa, there's Huttese, and Huttese is kind of like the language that everybody speaks for the most part that we hear in Star Wars is called Basic, which we go, oh, it's English. Okay, fine, it's English Basic, yada yada. In D&D would be the common language, whatever that actually ends up being. In terms of Huttese Huttese is like the next biggest language around because the Hutts have so much influence everywhere because everyone's a criminal, right? To a certain extent. So, in The Mandalorian, actually, in the first episode, when they're trying to, extract the musk from the blue guy that ends up getting, collected and then carbon frozen, when they're talking about collecting the musk, they're speaking Huttese, which is just kind of cool. That they actually put that level of dedication into it to have them actually speak that language. But there's a couple of pronunciational things in there that I think you could have fun with in terms of creating the name for Hebu. Hebu?
That was weird.
What?
Out of the corner of my eye, I could have sworn my Dr. Pepper can was falling off of my desk. And so I instinctually jumped to catch it.
Yes.
And it's just sitting there. It hasn't moved. It was weird.
You might just be picking up on the frenetic energy of me talking about Star Wars. I'm gonna.
So what about the name I just sent you?
Hebu Hash is good. It's kind of guttural though, and you have to just throwing this out here, and it's one of the things that's described in this book, is that Hutts, like the primary feature of their mouth is these giant bulbous blubbery lips, right? So it might be fun to try and incorporate that somehow. Hebu works out great because it's just like they're expelling and then they close them for a second. Hebu. So you got also Huttese is in episode 6 and also episode 1 and episode 3 of The Mandalorian. They have like the little eye stalk like door droid thing that identifies people who walk up. There's the one on Jabba's palace, and then there's one in The Mandalorian that's like, hey, why are you here to see the Imperials? And it pops out and says, hit you a pinky. Hit you a pinky means welcome. And so there's kind of that kind of not really guttural tone, but it's like pushing all of the phonetics to the front of the mouth where the lips are so they can get really involved with that. So Hebu Hash couldn't work. But put a P in there. Hebu Hopsh. So you have that hard plosive P right in there because then you're incorporating some of the biology really of the species that they would be. I'm just having fun at this point. Mm-hmm. Or you could change it from Hash to there's another fun sound, kind of that same sort of sound that you get with when people are trying to sound anything other than English, and you could have Hebu Hopsk, and you gotta have that kind of that guttural sound that come out at the end, if you can pronounce it, because a lot of English speakers have difficulty with that.
Hebu Hopsk.
Hopsk. Hops.
Hops.
And actually,
Hops.
don't do that because then you're kind of missing some of the plosives on the P, and you want to really get that in there. Hebu hops. Kind of spit it at them. Just really get in there. You are beneath me. I am a Hutt. I understand that this is a side character, and it's not really going to. You don't really need a lot of some of the detail that is being put in here. But you asked.
Yes. I did.
But it wouldn't hurt to give him to flesh out the reasoning as to why he thought this was the initial task was something that she could do. Even John Wick was tasked with an impossible something. So, for this to be her way to freedom and no longer, and don't be afraid to throw in some detail over, how she ended, what she was being employed with. If you're going to go with the typical seductive Twi'lek, whatever, sure.
No, so I have given this a little bit of thought. So she's so her character class is a monk.
Okay.
And so she's very dexterous. And so she was a cantina girl who was basically eye candy, as well as took orders from people,
Mm-hmm.
like drink orders and whatnot.
Okay.
And so she would go. Her job was to go and uh, get this, or to take orders, and then she would go back and get the payment. And then when she saw the payment, she would later then rob them as
Okay.
they were trying to leave or whatever.
Okay.
So she got very good at sleight of hand, taking more money out of there to continue with the huts, or to
Pickpocketing
bolster. Yeah.
kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
You just a way to expound on that. So, just throwing this in here as an extra wrinkle. So she was being the waitress, cantina girl, whatever it is, starts picking pockets to earn some extra money so that she can try and buy herself out of slavery. The Huts find out about it. They take all her money, and then they just turn that into a part of her job. So that it kind of adds a little bit of hopelessness to the character, because there was a time where she might have thought that she could escape on her own means, and when that was discovered, they took that away from her and made this very dangerous thing that she was doing to try and get her own way out just a part of what was now expected of her, and all the profit that she was getting from it on her own was completely taken away. That would be, to me, an interesting wrinkle to throw in there, because that would... There's the research is back out again on whether or not Stockholm syndrome is a thing, but if it is a thing, that might be a way to kind of reinforce it, because people will ally themselves with the most powerful person around. It's a thing. And so if there's someone who seems to be like clairvoyant, that knows all the things that you're doing to try and, circumvent their authority, and they can pick you out and say, you're trying to do this and you're trying to get out away from me, and they can take that back. It can be very disempowering to the individual. And so in terms of her story, that might help to explain why she still remains loyal to the Huts, even after she did the thing where she was supposed to have been made free. Potentially. Or she's just greedy as all get out, and you can run with that too. I'm still not sold on Kessel.
How do you spell captors?
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 That is correct.
Okay.
Also, I just think about this in terms of pronunciation. Rather than Verakuto or Kato, it's just pronunciation again. Being really accentuating the A, Veda Kuto, would be a little bit more in line with how things are.
I was thinking actually of pronouncing the E, so it's Vida. Vida.
Vida. Really pick one of those two vowels in the first part and really hit it. Whether it's Vida or
Vida
or Vida, one of those two.
Vida Koto.
Yeah, that would really help add a little bit more of an alien feel to it, which again just helps give the character a little bit of vocal depth. Let's see. All right, one more question for you, and I think.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get this thought out.
Okay.
Let's see. So Hebu caught her in one instance, and stripped her.
Careful using that word.
Money. And liberated her savings.
How about confiscated?
Okay. Well, I was trying to go with the whole whatever. Okay, yeah. Confiscated.
I think so. You read that off very quickly, but I think that's correct.
Google likes it.
Okay.
And then so he took her money, and then let her continue to use this skill in his favor. Okay, so now how can we push that into her going after the bounty hunter?
Okay. Like I said, this is the next question I was going to ask. Who is the bounty hunter?
He's a no name yet. He might have a name eventually, but
you got to give you if you're going to have him be there, and if he was of significance enough to the Hutts to send anyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I have not given him a name yet.
Okay.
I have not delved into that yet.
Okay. Now might be the time to start delving.
Yeah. That's why you're here.
Because if he is of significance enough for the Hutts to want something done and to offer,
okay.
Yes.
Also, he's obviously not too significant if they're sending a random slave after him.
Right.
So there's that too.
But it still has to be something where freedom, as fake as that might be, maybe
he's not a bounty hunter.
Okay.
Maybe he's somebody that stole one of their ships.
This is a good idea, because a bounty hunter is a bounty hunter. You'd get a bounty hunter.
Ooh. What if he is? He also was a slave.
Okay.
And Vida was supposed to he was the reason she was getting all of this money together.
Okay.
So the two of them could of them could get a ship together and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And he continued on with the plan without her.
Right.
And they sent her to take him out and bring their ship back.
Because they knew that he would let her get close.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this. I think you could. Yeah. So there's another guy. Maybe not even a slave. Make him just like a base soldier, but he's like spends all his time in the cantina. He becomes enamored of her beauty. He starts spending a lot of time with her. He lets her steal his wallet a couple times. He comes back in and he has some sort of little jolting shock thing on there, so she reaches for it and it scares her, and then he kind of like the begrudging thing, he begrudgingly starts to win her over, and then he starts talking about these big plans, and he starts saying, okay, well, someday I'm going to take you away from here. I'm going to buy you. I'm going to make sure that the Hutts don't ever hurt you or harm you again. And they have all these things kind of building up, and then it becomes hey, it's the day. We're going to steal the ship. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. And
that's the day that she gets caught.
That not just the day that she gets caught, because I think at this point she would have already been caught.
Okay.
At least from how, in my mind, because if she is constantly going after this guy, then somebody would have picked up on it, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
And so. So they're about to steal the ship. They're going through there. He's running out. He runs up the gangplank. He starts getting everything set up, ready to go. He's like, hey, we gotta get out of here. Get out of here. And she looks across the hangar and she sees a whole bunch of spice, something that's valuable. They can sell that. They can live comfortably off that for the rest of their life. She's a greedy person. Wait, I'll go grab the spice. So she runs off. She goes all the way across the thing. It's on a grab sled. She starts pushing it towards there. and she's running as fast as she can. She's pushing it as hard as she can, but just not moving fast enough. Then all the guards break in, and they start shooting at the ship, and it's like they have to prevent that ship from getting out here because again they're very rare, they're very expensive, and it's like it's one of the only ones that they have, maybe 3 in the entire criminal organization. And he starts getting all kinds of warning lights and things like that, and he's watching her still struggling with this grandson, and he realizes that she's not going to come to the gangplank without it. To her mind, he's not enough.
Yeah.
And so he decides, I can't stay around. This is my only shot. If I stay here, I'm dead anyway. And he leaves. Then she's distraught. A woman scorned. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Exactly. Ooh, I'm liking this.
She drops the sled. She's like, that double-crossing list of expletives. Marches right up to the people shooting. You let him get away. And she is angry. And they take her to the hut, and the whole, like, were you trying to help him escape? No, I wasn't. He was look, check the security footage. I was trying to push this thing in his path. Whatever it is, complete bullcrap, doesn't matter. As long as she's
good at deception too.
As long as she's unhappy with the current state of affairs, she can pull this off. And so she goes, "Let me prove you. I will bring his corpse back here." And it goes, "Okay, we have tracked the ship. We know where he's going." There's all again. This does kind of help a little bit with there being limited hyperspace routes because there's only so many places that he can go with that thing. It's not hard for us to find out where it is. They track it down. They find where it is. They send her. She gets on board. Don't let it be a struggle. Just she shows up. Hey, I got out. Meeting in a bar. They sit, they talk, they reminisce, they have this great catch-up time. He's like, I'm so glad you finally got out. She goes, it was so hard. I had to smuggle myself away on this ship and all this kind of stuff because I can't believe you got here. I can't believe it's really you that you're here. They might still be looking for us. We should get out of here. Yeah, we should get out of here. He takes her back to the ship. He starts getting everything set up. Lovingly looks back over his shoulder at her. And as he turns back to the controls, she walks right up and she sticks a vibroblade in his neck.
I like it.
It's evil, I love it.
Okay, now I've got to write all this down in a coherent way.
I'm a bad person.
Huh?
I'm a bad person. I'm a really bad person. Like I'm a really bad person, man. This stuff that's not hard for me to come up with. That just seemed like it all just seemed like the next most logical thing to have happen. And she walked up slowly behind him. And as she heard, as he's being so happy. Oh, I'm getting away with the love of my life. She stabs him in the neck. It's like, ooh, it's dark, it's evil, it's cruel, it's vicious. It's everything we hoped for. Yes. I think that's one of the reasons why I like the Venom movie so much because they let a person.
Still haven't seen it.
You still haven't seen it? Oh,
nope.
Oh,
haven't had a chance.
You should make an opportunity. It's not the greatest film ever. Most definitely not. There's a lot of issues with it, but there are there are about a dozen just really redeeming moments.
What's his name?
What's his name?
Yes. The guy.
Let's start more basic. What species is he?
It's another good question. I would guess human.
Okay. That makes sense.
Just because that makes the most sense.
Okay. What planet is he from?
Let's see. Uh, Tatooine's nearby.
That'd be too idealistic. And at this point, knowing we know what Tatooine.
What if he's?
Okay, go ahead.
What about Corellia?
Oh, Corellians. Everyone's a Corellian. Crap. We could make.
I was thinking maybe one of the core worlds. Maybe he is one of the smugglers that helps the Hutts get their spice further into the into the core worlds.
Okay. That makes. I mean, that would fit with Corellia. Ooh. What? Yeah. Okay. Long shot. Then this is going deep into Legends. Okay. That's Dathomir, and I'm pretty sure it's Quat. Quat would work. No, it's Hapan. Yeah, the Hapanese cluster. The Hapan cluster. Make him from Hapes. You could also be from Onderon or Ambria or.
Realistically, it doesn't matter where he's from because it's backstory.
Yes, but the more detail you have in the backstory, the more this this character comes to life. So make him.
Yes, but we're about to kill him.
I know, but
he's dead in the next paragraph.
This is still important. Make him come from the Hapan cluster, because the Hapan cluster was initially a pirate hideout. Okay. And so that fits his backstory as being just a general ne'er-do-well in CAD, and he would absolutely be somebody who's working for the Hutts. But what's extra cool about this with the Hapan cluster is that the Hapan people are bred specifically for beauty. And the way that happened was you have a bunch of space pirates going around, and they're, sacking and looting and all kinds of stuff and kidnapping. And if they're going to be kidnapping young ladies, they're going to be kidnapping the most attractive ones of the bunch. And so for centuries and millennia, the Hapan cluster was a pirate stronghold that was exclusively kidnapping attractive women. And so with that being the case, the genes on Hapan became very, very, very attractive. So you have this guy be like Lord Studley himself, show up out of the dark nebula of the world, and all of a sudden all the lights come on and you can totally see how she would fall for this guy, and then not fall for this guy and stab him in the neck. So let's have him be a Hapan, be from Hapan, the Hapes cluster. Yeah. Objections?
None.
Am I getting too much into this again?
Absolutely not. I'm loving it.
Okay. Now we need a name. Darn it. How about... How does the name Antomin feel for you? First name Antomin. Kind of has sort of like a Mark Antony kind of feel. The greatest lovers in all the world, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, but it's Antomin. And so he's got a little bit of that. And then we need like a good Star Trek captain's last name. Let's see, something with a real hard consonant in there somewhere. Ooh, not Hatut. That's a little rough. Vortek. How about that? Antomin Vortek. How do you feel? How's that grab you?
Antiman Bortek.
But it's not Bortek, it's Boortek. He's got a...
Oh,
Yeah,
doesn't
Boortek.
matter. He's going to be buried into the dead.
This is the part of the show where Gavi realizes that he has been talking about the exact same thing for approximately the last hour and 15 minutes.
Is this a problem?
Not really. It's just kind of like, man, I thought it was more interesting than this.
This is interesting. I'm loving it. And I know Sass will too.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
This is a lot of this is like a lot of super nerdy Star Wars to get into. Like, this is like bang your head against the wall Star Wars. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. I think that's a decent backstory. I don't know too much else that would be added to that. Do you have an idea yet when she's going to be introduced into the campaign?
No, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
I literally just got this character yesterday. Okay, so see, I'm trying. So I've got as she continued to work this angle for the huts, one customer in particular became a regular.
Mm-hmm.
Antiman Bortek, a smuggler, came into the cantina more and more frequently. Vita continued to get closer and closer to him, continuing to steal more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I need to add that for him because I've already said from him. He didn't care. He even let her take his money a few times. As time went on, he began to tell her about how he was going to buy her freedom. He would take her away from this horrible place and into the core worlds where they can
cross-pollinate.
Live long and prosper.
That's Star Trek. You can't do that. Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to stick with the generic grow old together.
Live happily ever after.
That's too Disney.
Disney owns it now. They can deal with it. And technically, I think the Grimm's brothers had that before Disney. So... that is an underrated movie.
What is?
The Brothers Grimm.
I think I've ever seen it.
Matt Damon and Heath Ledger. It is... They kind of take every single fairy tale, like classic fairy tale, Cinderella, Snow White, the whole nine yards, and they throw it all together into one vaguely cohesive story that is experienced by accident by a couple of charlatan brothers, where they pretend like magic is real and this and that and the other, and then they actually encounter real magic in this particular town. And it's not really a
how do you spell snuck?
Snuck, S-N.
Snuck a word?
Yeah, they snuck into, the snack factory.
Why doesn't Google like it?
Because Google is stupid. Yeah, but like so they go around and they try and pretend like they're going to fix this one town's issue of all these women disappearing, and as it turns out, like there's actually real magic going on, and then they discover in the process trying to help this town, because now the town is like really counting on them for help. They discover this magical plot which has all the earmarks for all of the stories that became the Grimm's fairy tales. It's a complete work of fiction, but it's interesting, and it's a really cool take on the idea of like deconstructing fantasy and fairy tales. And I really like that movie. That to me is a very underrated film, which most people haven't even heard of, let alone seen. That is a truly underrated film. Avatar is not. Yes. going back to our original topic. Woohoo! Where are you at, sir?
Ooh. Okay. I will read that momentarily.
Okay.
It's notifications. They get me every time.
I know that feeling.
Okay. So we can touch on this topic as I'm trying to write it down before it leaves my brain space. But is there something else you want? Are there other things that we need to discuss?
In terms of
this podcast we're doing.
I mean, there's a bunch of other things we could discuss. There's a bunch of things that we probably shouldn't discuss because I'm already salty as all get out. I don't know. Okay.
How about this? On a bright note, I've decided to run a D&D game while I'm on vacation with my family.
You're going to rope your family into a D&D game?
Yes. And you want to know how I'm doing it?
Disney theme?
Exactly.
I just knew that's exactly.
Yes. So, I did a thing.
Okay.
This.
Okay.
I created 9 different characters. Based on Disney characters.
Okay.
So I've got Aladdin as the rogue.
Okay, makes sense.
I've got Baymax as the cleric.
Gotcha.
I've got Elsa as a sorcerer. I've got Hercules as a fighter.
Okay.
I've got Maui as the druid.
Wouldn't Hercules be a paladin?
I thought so myself, but after discussing it with some hardcore D&D people last night, or Thursday night rather, we made him a fighter instead.
Okay, so this is non-godlyfied Hercules.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
This is Disney Hercules.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it would be still. It is pre-Well of Souls Hercules. How about that?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I'm on board again.
Yeah. We've got Merida as the ranger.
She's Pixar.
Mickey Mouse as the wizard.
She's Pixar.
Mulan as a monk. And Wreck-It Ralph as the barbarian.
Still throwing this out here. Merida is Pixar.
This is also Disney.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
So Wreck-It Ralph is Pixar. This is just animated Disney.
Wreck-It Ralph is not Pixar. It's not. Did I just ruin part of your day?
No, I'm just remembering things wrong.
Yep.
See here.
What's your campaign? What's the epic quest you're sending these people on?
Hold on 1 second. I'm still.
Still looking up.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't believe you, but now I do. So
never question my movie knowledge.
That's fair. So I found copy and pasta. Okay. I found this Disney Villains 5e conversion.
Okay.
So somebody went and statted out Disney villain.
Oh, this could be fun.
Yeah. So it's fitting that Shin Yu is the one that's up there because that's who they're going to be fighting. So it's going to be a rescue mission. Shin Yu, the immortal, has stolen Disney's newest Disney princess. Probably going to be one of the little girls that are inevitably going to be around the table while we're playing this.
Okay.
and the Disney heroes need to go and save her. And so they're going to hear the news that this new Disney princess has been stolen, and Mickey has gathered this group together to go and save this new princess.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so they're going to have to track where Shinyu has taken the princess.
Right.
And then their first challenge is going to be a massive river where Shinyu has demolished the bridge, and they're going to have to find a way to get over it.
All right.
I have statted the characters in a way that they have several options available to them to get across the river.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be up to them to figure that out. Once they get across the river, they are going to encounter a handful of hyenas.
Okay.
Lion King hyenas.
Mm-hmm.
That Shinyu has partnered with to try and slow the party down so that he can I don't want to say it that way. So that he can rid the world of this new Disney princess. So once they defeat the hyenas, they're going to be tracking Shinyu into a cave where he is holding the princess hostage.
Right.
And there are going to be several puzzles that I have yet to design.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of Disney knowledge that they're going to have to solve.
Gotcha.
And then once they get past those, then they will fight Shinyu and some of his lieutenants.
You should throw just for me, because I think it's one of the greatest, again, underrated villains in Disney. He doesn't have a song, so he doesn't get right up there. I mean, in order to be a really good Disney villain, you got to have a song, But I think you should throw in Commander Rourke from Atlantis. He's on this page, and I'm gonna be honest. He's just like one of my sentimental favorites. So it's James Garner too. And it's really hard to not just love James Tiberius work. Or no, not James. Lyle Tiberius work. Wow. I get a little bit of Star Trek in there. Yeah. He's got some good
What
stats
if instead of the hyena, they have to fight him and a couple of his soldiers?
Have him fight him and Helga. She's just a little bit above there.
Yeah, but you have to think about challenge rating.
You mean that thing that I never do?
Yep. Yep. And also the fact that these are people who have never played D&D before.
Hey, I killed everybody on the first one that I ever DM'd.
He could very easily be the person that blows up the bridge. They could get to the bridge,
mm-hmm.
and he blows it up and says, "You're not saving her this time." And him and his soldiers trot off a little further. Then they have to get across the river, catch up with him, defeat him, and then go into the cave.
Good work. I mean, yeah. Yep, that'll work.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of him, really. I'm not even going to be part of this campaign, and I'm just excited about having Commander Rourke.
So, I mentioned to Monkey and Kuya yesterday that I was working on this, and they were like, "Why can't we do that instead of the pirate thing we're going to do?" So,
Well,
we may.
It's because I'm already working on my Kermit voice, and this is a terrible Kermit voice right now. I don't have it right now. Wow, that's terrible.
Oh my gosh, that is a terrible Kermit voice.
Yours isn't any better.
That wasn't a Kermit voice. If I wanted to be Kermit the Frog, I could be Kermit the Frog.
That's still not Kermit.
Excuse me. It's not easy being green, but I am rather impetuous with you right now.
You lost it.
Yeah. Yep. I was too busy trying to think of words to say instead of.
I've been going back, and on Thursday, I was leaving work, and one of my coworkers mentioned that they had never heard Rainbow Connection. And
speaking of Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
So I've watched all of the Muppet content on YouTube.
Yep. As you should.
It's a lot of advertisement.
Yes, it is.
But it was bearable because it was the Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did skip over. There were probably 40 videos that were just little snippets from the movie.
Yeah.
Like you could almost watch the entire movie on YouTube.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. So I skipped over those because I have seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched everything else, and you can tell when the new guy for Kermit comes in.
Yeah, you can.
And it's rough.
It is.
And he sings Rainbow Connections, and I almost cried.
And not out of happiness.
And not out of happiness. It was terrible.
Well, like I said, I was talking to my coworker, and she'd never heard Rainbow Connection, and I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" Kids these days, she's several years younger, and so I was like, "Well, you cannot go through the rest of this day without hearing Rainbow Connection." So I looked it up on YouTube, and that was the first one that came up was the new one, and the second one down was Jim Henson's Kermit singing Rainbow Connection from the original movie, and it is just night and day. I also discovered something in people. This is a thing that's noted in, and I've heard it mentioned before when it comes to impressions. In order to do a good impression, you don't typically actually have to sound very much anything at all like the person in question. I mean, it helps, but a lot of times there are just like verbal cues and tics and things like that people have, that if you just recreate those to a certain extent, people just go, "Oh yeah, that's so and so." Like Michael Caine. People don't actually, very, very, very few people are actually capable of doing a Michael Caine impression. But when they do a Michael Caine impression, they just adopt a Cockney accent and go, "My name is Michael Caine." And it's like, and I heard Michael Caine actually give an interview about this, and he's like, "It's so frustrating to me because I actually have a distinctive voice, and all people do is just adopt this terrible Cockney accent, and they consider that to be a impression of me." And he's like, "I just want to see better craft from people who are, if imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, imitate me better," kind of thing. But I think that this is actually kind of what we're seeing right now with this new Kermit, where he is doing the verbal cues and tics of Kermit, but he's actually lost what Kermit is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Jimmy Stewart, people doing Jimmy Stewart. "Well, I went down to the malt shop today." And it doesn't sound anything like him, but because you have that kind of like his stuttering, stammering kind of cadence to it, people just go, "Oh yeah, you're doing Jimmy Stewart." Well, they follow the cadence somewhat of Kermit, and they kind of talk off the top of their mouth like this, and people just go, "Oh yeah, it's Kermit." It's like, well, I understand that you're going for Kermit, but that's not actually Kermit. So when you go back and listen to Jim Henson doing Kermit, it's actually a lot easier to do that one as a real impression than it is the ones now where you're trying to talk off the top of your mouth like this, and it just, you end up, kind of thing at it if you do it wrong. If you're actually copying Jim Henson, which I actually need to spend some time working on if we're going to continue with the pirate one, if if we're continuing with that, I need to do a little bit more work with like original Kermit, because the Kermit that I was trying to do is not that. I was also thinking about just saying screw the whole thing and doing a French accent, because I thought that would be funny. But yeah. I would also be very upset if I put all this work into making a Kermit clone in D&D, and then it just gets thrown out the window. But that's a whole other story. You should read my backstory, though. It has some jokes.
I have it up. I haven't read it yet.
It has some jokes in there that are not appropriate.
Let's see.
But they work within the context, because he's not actually Kermit. He's just me trying to make Kermit using in-world things. And I also probably need to change the name a little bit, because it's Karen Mite, which is why I was going more French with it, But yeah, it's just for fun. That's what it's all about. Just having fun. Made him a monk. All kinds of. I'm planning on abusing his jump ability a lot, because why wouldn't you? Yeah, he's an abomination. My favorite part, I'm just going to read this real quick since you're kind of getting into it, was being fiercely individualistic in response to his highly restrictive and sheltered upbringing nearly led him to the point of disaster as he attempted to pursue a romantic entanglement with a pink-skinned half-orc, his own poisonous skin betraying him as he attempted to seduce her into a second kiss.
Oh, no. Oh. Touche.
Yeah. That to me is just gold, because gold. Yeah,
it's gold.
Because he's a grung, in D&D, grungs are poisonous, not venomous, poisonous. Get it right. And so if he was to try and kiss a half orc, which depending on which version of orc it is, can be somewhat pig-like, and he comes enamored with Kirby, then when he goes in for that second kiss, she's already foaming at the mouth. Not that I'm saying that should happen. I'm just, whoa, that's a terrible picture. Wow, that's painful, really. But yeah, that was a thing that also happened this week. And also the organizations that he's affiliated with. He was a cabin boy aboard the Flying Purple thing. He was a swabby aboard the Moupe Shaw, and a cargo steward aboard the Fusée Burr, which are terrible puns. Yes. And I actually just ripped his enemy straight from the Muppet sequel. I forget what it's called. Jean-Pierre Napoleon, a veritable doppelganger with a penchant for unbridled evil and wanton destruction. Haha. If we keep him, I might actually go French, because that's just more fun. And I need work on my French accent anyway. But yeah, that was how I spent part of my day on Tuesday, I think it was. I have issues. I have a lot of issues. And since we're going on a little over 2 hours at this point, Mr. Masters, now is a great time to ask the question which needs to be asked every time we do this. What else are you working on right now?
I am working on typing up this backstory.
Ah. Okay.
So I've gotten to all right. So they grow old together. That was the last time we talked about it.
Right.
One day, Ataman came to Vida and told her that today was the day they were going to leave on his ship and get off this rock.
Okay.
They snuck out later that night and headed to Ataman's ship. As they approached the ship, Vida saw a shipment that was ready to go out. A large spice shipment just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
The shipment could set them up for life. Vita would never have to work for anyone ever again. Splitting off from Ottoman, she ran to the shipment and began pushing it to the ship. Ottoman called out to her to leave it, but she would not let it go. She pushed the shipment to as far as she could, but she wasn't quick enough. The guards had caught on to what they were doing and ran out to stop them. Ottoman, not wanting to risk his life, left Vita to deal with the mess. Vita stood there, dumbfounded and furious. This man that had come to her, talked her up, told her she was the world to him, and he was gone. He left her there. A fury set in. She would never be betrayed like this again. The guards brought her before the huts. Demanding an explanation, Vita lied through her teeth about how she was trying to stop him. Habu, knowing the smuggler had been growing close to Vita, and that's as far as I've gotten.
Okay. There's a couple of phrasing things there that are a little weird.
Well, I'm trying to do this as I'm also engaging in a conversation with you.
True.
So.
Well, I mean, not even so much phrasing, but just like pronunciation, and I don't know. Man, it's not. I'm trying to say it's not my character.
This is our character now.
Oh, it's like that 13-year-old kid who goes out, or I guess legally, that 14 years and 9-month-old kid who is now able to get his first job. We're not going to talk about how old some kids are when they typically actually get their first job, but that's a whole other story. Legally, 14 years, 9 months. This is when it really hits. And they go out and they get that first job, and they work all week long, and they're tired, and they're cranky, and they're like, man, I wish I could have just stayed at school or played video games, yada, yada, yada. And the boss says, oh, I have your check ready for you. Oh, yeah, my check, woohoo! Worked all these hours, getting paid whatever it is per hour. And they get it, and they look at it, and they go, where'd it go? And they're sitting in there looking at it like 66% of it, and they're like, they're supposed to...
Who is this FICA, and why are they stealing my money?
Where'd it go? I thought I earned more. And they're like, oh, yeah. When you thought it was your money, Uncle Sam was like, our money. This is bullcrap. This right here is probably the main problem that kids today have. They don't understand that what they think is theirs is not really, or as much as it most definitely should be, it just is not theirs. I mean, there's no entitlement, there's no anything like that. There's just Uncle Sam coming to get his. Oh, I'm not going to get on that either. A couple things I just shouldn't get on. I shouldn't get on the sequel trilogy. I shouldn't get on taxes. I shouldn't start on it on the ATF.
You just... Maybe we shouldn't do this podcast, is what you're saying.
Okay.
All it's going to do is rile you up.
This was okay. Today could have been very good. Today could have been a very good day. But I didn't get fireworks today. I didn't get a whole bunch of stuff. And then I go to make steak, and... Because, I mean, it's 4th of July. You got to have steak, right? And I have been making and cooking...
I've never had steak on 4th of July.
Something wrong with you. And so... I'm like, I have been making and doing all of the grilling in my house for longer than I did not do it. I think I was 14 the first time I grilled, and I have grilled every single time my family has grilled since then. No exceptions. I'm very proficient at it. I'm not going to say I'm good at it. I'm not saying I'm great at it. But in the terms of the people here in my house, I am the most proficient at doing it. Today, I go out, I build fire, get everything set up, clean off the grill, get the griddle set ready to go, take the meat out, put it on, take the container back inside. I answer one question that my mother had for me, and which took like 3 minutes to answer. 3-minute question. And for the first time in my grilling career, I walk outside and the entire grill is engulfed in flames. Just like huge flames. There was like I didn't use lighter fluid or anything to start it with. It was just like, I have like one of those little chimney things. And so there shouldn't have been anything that would cause that kind of flame. But holy Moses was there. And so I grabbed the lid and I throw it on top of it and to smother the flames out and everything like that. And Pyretic's not listening to this, so he doesn't have to worry about that, fireman that he is. And like when the flames were out, I took the top off, and it pains me to say this, that there were 4 beautiful cuts of meat on there that were rendered completely inedible. I've been grilling since I was 14 years old, and I have never, ever, ever, ever burned a steak. And today,
so what you're saying is you are really just upset at yourself here.
I'm upset at myself, but there's some other things that are just like trigger words. We've been hitting on a lot of those tonight. Like light speed skipping. There's video. Okay, we're gonna drag the dog out of the doghouse on this one. I've seen some videos of crazy stuff happening, and let's acknowledge, in America right now, there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening that should not be happening. I've seen people doing stuff that is totally unacceptable to each other, to themselves, and to their general community. That is what's happening right now, and that's why I can't have fireworks today. Screw all that. That being said, I did see a video of a group of absolute moronic idiots who were trying to prove how sorry they were for things that they had nothing to do with, and so they literally self-flagellated themselves, opened up their back, dripping with blood wounds, because they were trying to show how sorry they were for things that they had nothing to do with. Okay? Those people are idiots.
Wait, what?
I'm not joking. This is a thing.
Why are you watching this?
Because it popped up in my Twitter feed. I don't know.
That seems like a you problem. Not gonna lie.
I'm going somewhere with this. I'm still on a salty bender right now, and I'm not saying that the people who made the sequel trilogy ought to recreate this. But wow, if you're talking about penance for things that you did wrong, that's what needs to be. There are some penance that needs to be made for those. That needs to be made for that. I am still hurt. I'm hurt that things went that wrong, were that awful, were that just unacceptable. And it wasn't just presented as acceptable. It was presented in such a way that we were all supposed to think that it was better than anything we'd ever seen before. And then we were told how dare us for not liking it. And I'm like, what? I can make up my own dadgum mind. And yes, right now I'm salty, and I acknowledge that. And I should probably have a better attitude. I definitely should. But I don't. And this seems like a really good opportunity to be salty and be upset because I didn't get no fireworks today, and my burned mistake, and we had to go to the store and get some more. I mean, not that, you had to go to the store and get some more. It's not the point. The point is, and yeah, it was probably my fault for leaving the steak unattended for 3 minutes. 3 freaking minutes, man. 3 minutes. I've never seen anything burn that fast in my life. And I grew up in a house where we knew that the grilled cheese sandwiches were done because the smoke alarm was going off. That was the only way we knew. I mean, like,
yeah, that used to be my kitchen timer too.
Every single day, we're like, my husband comes out, she's like, "Oh, it's lunchtime. What do you guys want to have?" "Oh, we want to have a grilled cheese sandwich." I developed a taste for burnt cheese because it was all I ate. Burnt cheese is awesome, by the way. Man, I'm just having a bad day. And then I'm supposed to go. I mean, I didn't really want to go play putt-putt golf. I'm just, family does what family does, and you just go with family sometimes because you have to. My family doesn't do cool things like go to Disney. We just play putt-putt golf again, or go visit other family that we don't like.
And again, and again,
and again, and again.
You
and
play
again.
a lot of putt-putt.
I like golf. I played golf on Friday, and I really enjoyed the time I spent playing golf, actual golf, with the full bag full of clubs, and I walked the course carrying my own bag the entire way through. The pansies I was playing with, they rode in the cart. That's their business. I'm not going to cast too much disparagement upon them. But dear sweet Lord, why do people think it's fun to spend time on the most frustrating part of the game? I mean, I understand putting is important. Without putting, you know the rest of it doesn't work. You can get all the way down to the green. You can putt 14 times and ruin your whole game. Which I'm not saying that I have done that, but I'm just saying that maybe I'm familiar with that sort of scenario. But like, why would you distill like what otherwise is an enjoyable experience and cut out the fun part and just do the really, really annoying, tedious part and think that that's fun? Yeah, like I said, I'm just salty today. I'm just really salty, and I don't want to be, but I am. It's frustrating, and I need a nap, and I haven't felt good. But man, I don't know. It's just want some dadgum fireworks. That's what I want.
Well, you can come over where I'm at because they're going off like crazy right now.
Yeah, there's probably...
Surprised you can't hear them.
There's probably some idiot outside who's setting them off. I've heard hearing some pops and stuff, but it's like, it's not really the good ones. I like the big full productions, and we've talked about that already, and you don't like them, that's okay. I'm just...
Okay, so one more thing we need to touch on now that I've finally gotten here.
Quickly, okay?
Why don't you like Kessel? What is your... Kessel is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is where the home base of the Thousand Suns is going to be. It has already been determined.
Okay.
So how are you going to rationalize this in your head that will make you happy?
If they've already decided it's going to be the headquarters of this group, I have no issues, because then it's not our campaign. It's not up to us to figure out how it's going to work. If he is going, if Crouton, whatever his name is, if it is his decision that's where it's going to be, he can have it there. He can figure out the logistics of sudden exposure to the vacuum of space. I mean, if that's how he wants to spend his Thursday, more power to him.
Oh.
I'm just saying, if I was running it, I would stay as far away from Kessel as possible. But but with that, I'm going to stop being angry. We should probably consider wrapping this up.
If you say so.
Well, I mean, we're 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 14 seconds, so...
Oh, snap, this is our longest episode yet.
No, it's not. Last one was longer. It was 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 45 seconds. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, and then we had the after show, so I guess technically.
Yeah, the after show doesn't count. It's a bonus episode.
So one little snippet.
Yep.
So I was in Kuya's stream the other day, and he brought up this podcast, telling people to go watch it. I'm sure nobody listened to them because they're smart.
He's a sadistic person, isn't he?
I know, right? And so he said that he was waiting for them to build up so that he could binge watch them. And I said, you do realize that it's me and Gavi talking. And so far, we're about 10 hours into this. And I calculated it was a little over 8 hours. And he was like, I should have known better. I was like, yes, you really should have.
Yeah. Like, he was... Okay, so... We're now over time. I don't care. We're just going to run with this. Screw it. So... I mentioned that it was Lefty OX who got me into recording and doing things for YouTube initially, because I just thought what he did was magical, and I wanted to recreate that, and I wanted people to feel the same kind of things that I was feeling from him, from me. I wanted them to be able to derive from my efforts the same level of entertainment that I was deriving from his, and which is weird because he was not necessarily the most popular person on YouTube. I think he topped out like 100,000 viewers or 100,000 subscribers, and then a bunch of stuff hit the fan, and he got kicked off a podcast, and all kinds of weirdness went on, and just his name got dragged through the mud for like 2 years, and then he just dropped everything on YouTube and he went full time into voice acting, which was the best decision he ever made. And it makes me kind of sad because now I have less. Technically, I have more access because he's more mainstream, but I have less access because he hasn't been really been making any sort of readily available, consumable content for me to partake with for a number of years. But with that being the case, the reason like Kuya should have known what's going on here is because after I started that, one of the first things that I did was the Monster was a Monster Hunter based podcast, of which he was one of our recurring guests. And I'm pretty sure every single episode that he was on was at least 2.5 to 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
He should know what that entails. It should be deeply ingrained in his mind. Yes.
I haven't watched any of them because I'm not that sadistic.
Masochistic.
Masochistic.
It's sadistic if you do it to somebody else. It's masochistic if you do it to yourself.
Touche. So I'm not that masochist. That's a hard word to say. So I haven't watched it. However, I am assuming that for that entire time, all you talked about was Monster Hunter World or Monster Hunters, because World wasn't a thing at the time.
True, and it is large.
So is that accurate?
It is largely just about Monster Hunter. Again, I did not. I wanted that podcast to be a lot more like this one, where we were playing Monster Hunter. It was a video podcast, so we were recording gameplay and we were just talking over it at the same time. And so we'd have little interactions and things with the game, but I wanted to be largely more like this, where it's just like anything could come up, anything could be talked about, and it was just like a very free and open forum kind of thing. The other people that I was playing with that I was doing it with, they're like, no, we need to make this all about Monster Hunter, and I'm like, you all don't understand. We are at the time we were like podcast number 7 strictly about Monster Hunter that was showing up on the scene. And it's like, we are not going to be able to compete and keep this going long term if we're only going with Monster Hunter. But I was outvoted 3-1. So,
so you decided you would even the odds and make it 1-1.
Well, no, we kept it going as a 3-1 thing for about 1.5 years, and then one dropped out, and then another one dropped out very shortly thereafter, and then me and the other guy, we kept it going for a couple months after that. But the whole thing lasted about maybe 2.5 years. But Kuya, before he was Kuya, that's another thing. Before Kuya was Kuya came on this podcast. Let me put it this way. Kuya is a much better name than what he used to be called.
What he used to be called. Let's reveal it right now.
Dragix 2012.
Wow.
Well, it was a fusion between a dragon and a phoenix, and he made his channel in 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. Kuya is a much better name than Dragix 2012, and I'm sorry.
Much better.
I'm sorry, Kuya,
wow.
but dude, I was like even in the podcast back then, I was like, man, this is a really tough thing to say. Like, this is like a weird name. What's going on here? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Kuya is a much better name, and
I should just drop into his stream one day and be like, "So what's up, Dragix?"
Oh, he would be upset. Assuming.
Where did you hear that name? Tell me.
Oh man. It's probably a good thing that one episode will never see the light of day. It was lost forever. But yeah, like,
that's funny.
Like, he should know. Like, this is, and the thing is, on that podcast, I had a lot less interaction than I do now. Like, I was a lot quieter. I didn't speak nearly as much as I do now. Like, nearly as much.
That's hard to believe. You never shut up now.
I know, but
I was telling Kuya, this is just the Gavi podcast where Masters randomly says things.
It's not supposed to be that way. I just got to find something that riles you up and gets you going.
Nothing riles me up.
Well, see, this is also the other thing, because I was doing that podcast and I was following this other guy, again, Jonathan Playtech. People go look him up. He does a lot of good stuff. I will actively endorse his career. I think he is a great entertainer. But with that being the case, I was listening to him and he was talking about doing terrestrial radio programs and things like this and some of the mentality behind it, and that you always just need to fit. And if you are hosting a show, you have to fill dead space. And so I didn't have to do that so much on the Monster Hunter podcast at the time. And if you look up the Monster Hunter podcast, you'll find something totally different than what I was on, which is intentional because I'm trying to keep that name out of this as much as possible. But if you look on those podcasts, I had a lot less interaction that I had to do because everybody else was just playing off each other, and there's a lot of conversation back and forth. And it was only about Monster Hunter, so there was a limit to really what I was able to contribute in terms of answering the same question 14 times. Because we did get a lot. We were basing it through the Capcom Unity website and the Monster Hunter forums, and we were putting out threads every couple of weeks to be like, hey, we're looking for questions, we're looking for guests, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. And that was how it was being run. So my major contribution at the time was I was recording it, I was doing the intros, and I was doing the editing once it was done, and I was reading the questions that were posted on the forum to everybody else and then letting them run with it. Which is okay, I wouldn't mind being a facilitator, but there was a lot less need for me to fill dead space. Now, whenever there's a space where there's nothing being said for like 3 seconds, I'm like, dead space has to be filled, because I'm going back to how I learned this not by osmosis, but by listening to someone who actually kind of knew what they were doing. Going, okay, well, if you're going to produce a show, you have to fill that dead space. And if there's no one else going to fill the dead space, it's up to you. So I have taught myself to continually have a stream of words available, even if I have absolutely no idea how a sentence is going to finish when I start it, which happens a lot more than I probably let on.
So I do that a lot when we're playing or when I'm DMing. Mm-hmm. If my character ever has a stutter, it's because I can't figure out what the next word's going to be. Give me a second.
And also at the time, when I was doing the Monster Hunter podcast, I was still dealing with a lot of health issues, and so my brain just wasn't working as well back then as it is now. I mean, there's some question as to whether or not my brain ever works well, or works properly, or works the way that other people's brains are supposed to work, because as we've talked about tonight, I apparently have a penchant for taking things into a very dark and twisted place. But that is not the point. The point is, at the time, I would actually have difficulty forming complete sentences. I was that out of it. And so there was multiple instances, I think not so many on the podcast, but especially off of it, where I would be partway through a sentence and I would stop midway, hold up my hand to whoever I was talking to and be like, give me a moment. I don't know how to finish what I'm saying. And I've had that's useful because now I can use that when I'm really tired and I can't think anyway, but that's a whole other story. Those are more organic moments where I just can't think, as opposed to being a pervasive sickness, which is inhibiting my cognitive ability. It's just...
Right, so do you want to hear how I finished this out?
Absolutely. Hit me with it. Do it.
So, let's see. We left out demanding an explanation. Vita lied through her teeth about how she was trying to stop him. Hebu, knowing the smuggler had been growing close to Veda, and offered her. Hebu knew. That's what that should be. Knew, not knowing.
Also, is it Habu, like Abu, or I think it should be?
It sounded weird as I was reading it.
Really hit the E in there. Hebu.
Hebu.
There we go.
Hebu.
Not quite that much.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Oh, bless you. I can't find the word. Knew.
There we are.
Hebu knew this smuggler had been growing close to Vida and offered her a chance to prove her worth. Heba sent Vida, Hebu sent Vida to hunt Ataman. That's a lot of names right there. Down and
also it's Antamine.
Antamine.
There we are.
Down.
Are you going to need
and
me
to
to
get
come?
their ship back? Ships, after all, are not cheap.
Are you going to need me
Go
to
ahead.
come to this this thing so I can pronounce all the names for you?
Actually, let's go through here right quick. I'm going to add a note as to how to pronounce these names.
Okay, let's start with Vida. So
Okay.
her base name Vida is you can just say Vida.
V.
Da.
Put 2 E's in there.
Okay. But for her full name, it should be Vidakuto. Put a little extra emphasis on both of them, so it's like Vidakuto.
Vidakuto.
There we are.
Okay.
All right.
Longo. All right, got it.
All right.
And then let's go down to
The hut or the boyfriend?
the hut. The hut.
Okay.
So is it Hebu?
Should technically be Hebu.
He? H-E-H?
Yeah, like
B-U?
Hebu.
Hebu.
Right.
Okay.
But
Hebu.
but faster.
Ooh,
But faster. Hebu.
come and get me, Jedi.
No. And
That's what the one sounds like in Clone Wars.
I know, but that one is just no. And then it's Hebu Hopsh.
What you doing, you stupid robot? You're bringing me the wrong direction.
Man, I understand why they did that in Clone Wars, because it's supposed to be more of a childish program, at least at that point. The last season is not for kids.
Okay,
We've talked about
that. So Hebu
Hopsh. It's it's almost
hop.
Hopsh, not hop, but hop. Almost think German. It does come out a little bit German here.
So phonetically, Hoppseh.
No, it should be H-A. It's Hopsh.
No, that's how you spell it. But you were saying hop.
I said not hop. You're not talking about Judy Hop. It's like the A in calm. Hopsh.
Yes, but the pronouncing is
It is
hop.
It is very, very subtle, but it is different. Hebu Hopsh.
So long O. Hopsh.
Well, a longer would be Hopsh, but
No. So double A then.
It's
Or
yeah.
This would be the AE.
That'd be Hapsh. I think double A would be better. That would get the point across a little bit better in terms of phonetics. And you can actually put a double A in there just normally.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then SEH for shit.
Yeah. Hopsh.
So Hebu Hopsh.
There we go.
Okay.
And
then to the boyfriend.
Holy mow. The boyfriend is Antomin Burtek. Ooh. That's a random message. So it's just ant. Like Om.
So I've got ant-o-mean.
Yeah, that works.
And then Bortek.
Boor. Like poor.
Yes, I've got O-O.
Yeah.
Like
There's
yeah.
Or this is more of a
B-O-A-R.
Nope, that's just something else.
Boar.
So Have you ever heard of the Scottish Moors?
Nope.
You should listen. You should learn of the Scottish Moors. It's an O. It's like an OU kind of sound. Moors. Boer.
Boer-tech.
Yeah, it's like a U to an O.
Gotcha. A U to an O.
Yeah.
So Boer-tech.
Antomin
Boer-tech.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a dead man.
He's dead.
Never has so much effort gone into pronouncing the name of a dead man ever. No, never has so much effort been put into pronouncing the name of a fictional dead man.
Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get back into actually reading it.
Okay.
So, Hebu knew this smuggler had been growing close to Vida, and offered her the chance to prove her worth. Hebu sent Vida to hunt Antomin down and to get their ship back.
Mm-hmm.
Ships, after all, are not cheap. After several weeks of getting on ship after ship, Vida finally caught up to Antomin. She found him in a cantina on Corellia. Shocked to see her, he ran to her. How was she there? Again, Vida lied through her teeth about how she got away from the huts and hopped ship to get here. Ecstatic to see her alive, Antomin took her to his ship and prepared it for takeoff. When he turned around to ask Vida where she wanted to go, he found a vibroblade in his neck. Antomin was no more. Calmly and without emotion, Vida removed Antomin from the ship and returned to Ryloth. Hebu, happy to have his ship back, offered Vida a new position, Enforcer. For many years now, for many years after this, Vito Kutu was Hebu's go-to informant and enforcer. She currently resides on Kessel, watching over the spice trades and making sure the people fall out of line, with 1,000 sons pay the price, one way or another.
It works. I like it.
I like it a lot.
And sometimes she just has to hold her breath.
Semantics.
Oh, it again, it's not as bad as light speed skipping, but even in Legends canon, even the Hutts don't go there. They intentionally do not go there because they might die. And Hutts are very big on self-preservation. Very big. In general. But also on self-preservation. And also, I'm just throwing this in here because it struck me when you were doing the impression of the guy from Clone Wars episode 1. You know, I miss scary Hutts. And we don't even really get a good scary Hutt in any of the Star Wars films because we just kind of get Jabba, and then there's that other one that's kind of there. I could do research and figure out who she is. I don't care. Besides, let's not get into Hutt physiology. Actually, let's just leave that right where it lies. Stay far away from that. It does not end anywhere nicely. It's bad. It's just really bad. Don't go into Hutt physiology. Yeah. It's bad. Anyway, but I miss, because in the books there's a number of notable Hutts that come up over the years. And the one that really just stuck in my mind is from a book called The Planet of Twilight. And it's just a Princess Leia story. She gets kidnapped while she's in the middle of Jedi training, and she's trying to figure out where, kind of her place in the galaxy and what that means and what she's supposed to be doing. This, I believe, is actually before she ends up marrying Han Solo. And she encounters on this planet a Hutt named Beldorion, who was a Jedi-trained Hutt. And he was, of course, into all the Hutt things, so his training didn't take that well. But Beldorion is scary and a legit powerful Hutt. He has some issues along the way that kind of reveal that he does have some weaknesses. but like, and when you're reading it through and you're starting to understand just like who he is and the power that he has had access to, you're like, this guy is not someone to be messed around with. And then other things happen, and he dies before the end of the book. But it is turning them into like these weaselly little underlings. Huts don't tolerate that. If they have a family member who is one of those wheezy little mouse type things, who's just like, there's just a rat in the shadows looking for a chance for a piece of cheese kind of person, yeah, they just straight up kill that person because he's not worthy of being a Hut. So I find that character somewhat unbelievable in the larger lore, but I understand why they put them in there, because it's for kids, and I think, it is what it is. The rest of the Clone Wars more than makes up for that particular character and their lack of congruity within the larger Star Wars universe and how that would actually work, because there's no self-respecting Hutt who would allow a family member to be that unimpressive. They will, like, you get two powerful Hutts together, they will straight up murk each other. Like, we will burn down your castle because I want your slaves. Bad people. But that's a very respectful, noble thing to them, because they're just flexing over who is better, who is more powerful, who is more corrupt, who is more evil. They think that that's a very noble pursuit, like the Olympics. But to have one who's just kind of like, oh, I'm going to find my little place behind you to just trail along and get the crumbs, that's not acceptable. You are less than a Hutt. And to be less than a Hutt is to might as well just be a slave at that point. And they would never allow a Hutt to be a slave, because then it cast dispersions upon their entire species, which is funny because their homeworld of Nalhutta actually translates to glorious jewel, and that and apparently it ain't that. It's like it's like if Dagobah, the marsh planet where you find Yoda in episode 5, if Dagobah had a severe methane problem, that is Nalhutta. It just smells, it's rancid, it's a swamp, and there's nothing good there whatsoever. But it's a glorious jewel to the Hutts. So,
they probably smell worse than Hutta anyways.
By comparison. Oh. It's just fun. This is what being a fan is about. It's just looking for some way to draw more meaning from a presented story than just being like, oh, well, that was nice. I know people who, I'm related to people who watch things strictly at face value, and they never think for a moment about what might be just a single layer beneath the veneer on the surface. And when you start to get into that, that's, I think, where real stories become interesting, and movies and books and graphic novels, whatever the case might be, when you can just look one layer deeper, or 3 or 6 or 12, or so deep that you can pick out where a planet is on a star map that you haven't seen in 15 years, that is not your galaxy.
Oh, that was the highlight of the night. You're right.
That was, I am both embarrassed and impressed with myself.
And nobody will ever believe you.
Well, unless they look it,
all they can see is your voice.
Unless they look it up.
No. They won't believe that you just pulled it off the top of your head.
Oh, yeah.
You totally had the map right in front of you the whole time.
I did not.
We staged that.
We did not stage that. That is a lie. That is a complete lie. I pulled that out of the deep, dark recesses of my mind from days when I actually had time to read Star Wars books like I used to. Oh, those were the days. But yeah, the good times. I enjoy delving beneath the surface. I like looking up, like Marvel movies. I get into those because I can find an extra layer to go into. I can try and predict what's going to happen. I can try and find some way to insinuate myself into not just the story, not just the characters, but in the process of telling the story. other people, no dispersions upon them, well, at least not too many dispersions upon them, are fine and okay with just being like, okay, well, that was a decent movie. I suppose it goes back to this idea. A couple years ago, I heard a definition of the word entertain or entertainment. And to be entertained is to cause one to stop to think or to stop thinking. And I'm like, well, I don't ever really want to stop thinking. And so I made a sort of surreptitious, pact with myself to never be entertained, to never allow my brain to be disengaged while I'm partaking in media or any kind of thing like that. I think that there's always something that can be learned from the media that we're partaking in. The question is whether or not we're actively engaged enough to pick up on it. Sometimes that leads us into not so great things. There are some things that are presented in media that we should not ever really deal with. But there are other things that we can genuinely learn from. And I think that by applying our minds to picking out what those are and learning what they are and learning then how to apply them in our daily lives, I think we can actually not just derive more of a benefit to ourselves, because if we're actually living vicariously through other characters, we can see how things would play out in a semi-realistic setting. Not saying that Captain America is realistic, but he does come across certain moral quandaries which require a realistic answer to those quandaries. But we can also actually achieve a greater level of interest and of actual enjoyment out of it because we are looking beneath the surface. We gain access to something that the casual viewer will never have and will never know, because they accept things simply as they are presented. But if you look as to where something might be headed, or where something might be going, or in some cases where things could have gone to but did not, I think that opens up the door for a greater level of storytelling, not just saying that this is what is, but allows us to consider what might have been. Does that make...
I just want to point out that this conversation that we're having right now all started because I said Kuya called out our podcast.
Which was a terrible decision on his part. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just that. This is really that's really a culminary thought for the entire 2 hours and 51 minutes that we've been going at this point. Because we were talking about...
When we started this thing, we told ourselves that there is no format. We retroactively gave it a format of being 2 hours and 22 minutes just because it happened to happen 2 times in a row.
Right.
And then we actually went longer in a quote-unquote bonus episode the third time.
Right.
And this time we just said, we're not even going to hit pause this time.
Yeah,
let's just keep going.
Let's just dump on that idea. Yeah, that's... I tried, and then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it. Go for it.
We've got more to say, dang it. We will not conform to your 2 hour and 22 minute timeline.
Yes.
Sass says he listens to these at work anyway, so this just gives him a little bit more time that he doesn't have to think while he's working.
That is totally against what I just said. That's good. Gummit Masters, you weren't listening again. I literally said, do not allow yourself to be entertained. Keep your mind engaged. This is not Gladiator.
We both know that Sass is going to keep his mind engaged.
I know.
Because he comments while he's watching the video.
While he's watching the video.
Or listening, rather.
Afterwards, I get so many DMs from him.
I do too.
We love you, Sass.
Our
viewership
never stop being you,
one.
Sass.
Our viewership of one.
Hey, he's consistent at least.
He is. Oh, I can't. I am very curious now, though, about Kuya recommending other people to come watch this, because number one, that's just a terrible thing to do, people. Number two, yeah, that'll be interesting when he shows up and he starts watching these, if he does. Although I will say, Kuya used to be my most my most regular viewer. He used to be.
He used to be.
I mean, yeah, like that before he got all tidy and watching and creating his own stuff. You know, he was watching. He watched every single one of my videos. And I'm like, wow, that was really big news for someone like me who wasn't really having anybody watch his videos at the time. Yeah. But yeah. So to the content creators, be thankful for every viewer, I suppose. Yeah. That
fireworks are getting stronger.
Boom.
Nobody cares about the sound ordinance around here, apparently.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'll be honest. I sleep right through them. When they're just backyard stuff. If it's a big show, I like to see the big shows, but the backyard stuff just is totally unimpressive to me. Which is probably just a sign that I'm jaded or something. Can't imagine myself being jaded when I'm talking about, experiencing every possible outcome, whether I actually see it or not. I can't imagine myself becoming jaded by that. Okay, that's another thing. So, if you ever watch something with someone and they ask you your opinion of it and you don't like it, and like it's written on your face that you did not like that, and they ask you anyway, like what your opinion of it was?
No, because I'm very open.
Okay.
About what I do and do not like. So.
Well, I mean, I'm very open about this as well. In case you hadn't noticed, I tend to talk about that a lot.
A
lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Anyway, so it has become a known phenomenon in my family that there are movies that I watch because the family wants to watch them. There's movies, TV shows, things like that, where I've watched them because I'm trying to be a part of the family, and I do not enjoy them at all, or at least there are certain parts of them that I do not enjoy, and I am very forthcoming with that information. But when they ask me, hey, what did you think of that movie? So I try not to ruin it for other people as much as I can. But if you ask me a question, I feel like it should be understood that I'm just going to answer that question honestly. But then when I do answer the question honestly, like, oh, well, the acting was terrible, the story was predictable, the cinematography was awful, and then I just kind of run down the list of all the stuff I didn't like, and they're like, well, if you didn't like it, why did you even watch it? And I'm like,
Gabby, I would never make that mistake.
I know. But it's like, it's written all over my face from like 5 minutes into the film. I'm like, this is just painful to watch. I cannot believe that this made it through any kind of quality control people anywhere. This is just awful. And they're like, well, what? That was such a great movie, Gabby. What did you think? And I'm like, this was terrible. This was just bad. I did not like this. No. What do you mean you didn't like it? I'm like, it's a bad movie. It's just bad. I don't like it. And so, yeah, that's a thing. I have issues with that, where it's kind of like one of those gotcha questions. You would understand this, Masters. You were married. It's kind of like that question, honey, do I look fat in this dress?
Like, she never liked my response to that question.
I think I have a legitimate answer to that can potentially be acceptable. Probably not. But
what?
You
look fat in anything you wear?
No. Definitely not. Definitely not. Okay. But it's like one of those questions where no matter what you say, it's the wrong thing. If you say, no, of course you don't, honey. Oh, you're lying to me. I know I look fat in this dress. And she rips it off and she goes stomping back in the room and puts something else on. Or, oh, yeah, you do. What do you mean I look fat? Are you saying I'm not pretty to you anymore? It's like, it's one of those, you can't win. So it's a no-win scenario. It's the Kobayashi Maru right here. It's a Star Trek reference, in case you don't get it. Everyone who's listening, I hope you got it. But I think, for that question in particular, I have crafted an answer.
Okay, let's go.
Which is inappropriate.
Oh. But why bring it up?
Well, it's because I'm proud of it. And I really shouldn't be, because it's bad. But I think it's a great answer to this question, and I think it has a lot of potential, mostly to get myself beat with something. But I mean, on the off chance that it works even one time, I think it's worth it. And it's one of those things where you kind of, to work, you really have to kind of catch her off guard. You know, you're married to her, and she comes in and she's wearing this dress and whatever it is, and she says, "Oh, honey, do I look fat in this dress?" She's expecting either a yes or a no, and she's got her daggers prepared, going both ways in this one. And my response is, I think I need some better comparison. If you could take it off.
Nope, that's not gonna work. That would not work. Nope, that doesn't work. That's not gonna work. That does not work in the way that you want it to work.
I mean, I'm not married. I don't know. I think
no.
I think this is a prepared response that deserves to be tried out at least once. And if it even catches like a momentary pause, I think that is a successful usage. Where she just stops and mulls over what you said to her, and she starts.
No, because her response would be, "Oh, so you can see how fat I am without it on."
There's.
Does this make me look fat? No, your fat makes you look fat.
Again, I've never been married, but I'm pretty sure that is also not the answer to that question.
Oh.
Remember that question we were saying about, not the question, but the topic we had a couple weeks ago about charisma versus wisdom? About how your charisma is high enough that you have an ex-wife, but your wisdom is low enough that you have an ex-wife.
That I have an ex-wife.
This might be part of that low wisdom sort of thing. Oh man. Yeah. That is a winning combination right there.
Home run.
There's something wrong with the both of us, but that might be a topic to explore for another day. Oh man,
my diet isn't working. Well, that container of Parmesan cheese you ate's not really a diet.
Yeah, that's probably also not. I mean, fair points. Absolutely. So we've been at one of the churches. After that, one of the churches I'm going to. Have been talking in the last couple months about how our words and how to use them, and we use this acronym which I'm sure you've heard before. It's called THINK. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? In that case, Parmesan cheese. Is it true? Yep. Is it helpful? Possibly. Is it inspiring? Nope. Is it necessary? Nope. Is it kind? Definitely not. It's supposed to be the think test. You check your words against all the... Now you see. Now here we go. Let's go back to my thing. I might need a better point of reference. Take it off, right? Is it true? Yes. Is it helpful? Well, we don't know until we try it. Is it inspiring? I think so. Necessary? Meh, probably not. Kind? That's also a little bit up to interpretation.
Hello, hole.
I'm just saying that
And unfortunately, this is the one you're digging, and not the one.
I'm just saying at this point that in terms of kindness, I'm saying that I think that what's under it is worthwhile. So, wow, this is definitely not for kids. I had one of my Sunday school children tell me that they had seen that I had posted a podcast, and I said, I certainly hope you didn't watch that. And he said, no. And I said, that's very good. You should forget that it ever existed. Why? Because I am your teacher, and I know. And I know. This one's not for kids. Oh, man. It's rough.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I haven't done anything wrong, and the thing is, it's a legitimate thought process. It's something that probably needs to be considered before you go into that sort of situation, knowing that it is absolutely 100% going to happen. Case in point, the fellow with high charisma and low wisdom. But I'm sorry, that is one of my new favorite jokes. That's great. I love that. Bravo on you, sir. Bravo on you.
You're welcome. You can use that in your sermon.
Ooh.
Nobody will understand it unless they play D&D, which I highly doubt.
I'm pretty sure I could work it in nonetheless. I don't know necessarily how, but if you give me a couple minutes, I could find a way. Ooh, yeah. But yeah, people should be prepared. They should think things through before they do them. And again, that goes back to the think principle, the think test. But yeah, that's all very, very fun, I guess. I wouldn't know. Again, unmarried, never have been. Came close once. Bad idea. Not fun times. Anyway, I think I've run out, sir. Have you got anything else?
Nope, that's this into this thought train.
Alrighty. That was exhausting, but good. I enjoyed tonight. I enjoy every time we come together to do a podcast, and you just sit there and let me talk myself dry for 3 minutes, 3 hours, whatever it is. Wow.
It's therapeutic for you.
It is. I would say happy 4th of July, everyone, but it is in fact now the 5th of July.
No, it's not.
At least where I am, it is. Masters is living in the past. You can't take anything what he says, you know. You have to live in the present, the here, the now, not an hour ago. Technically. Yeah. I don't know. But it has been fun. Thank you all for watching, listening, whatever it might be. Appreciate you dropping by. Sass, another one for the books.
Sass.
Oh. If you all have anything that you would like us to talk about in the next time, or in whatever time it might be that we are recording this, in case you're now watching this however many units of time in the future after we have posted this. Potentially someone might go back and watch this after it's been posted and a week old and the new episodes come out. I don't know why you would do that. You need to probably get some professional counseling. That's okay. Professional help never hurt anybody except for that one guy. We don't talk about him very much. But that being the case, if you are now even very far in the future from where we are, you can drop a comment down here. We're probably not going to get too many of those, at least as things stand right now. So we will come back and talk about it in the next episode, whether that ends up being episode 4 or episode 936. If we ever get to episode 936. Jury's still out.
Dear Lord.
Jury's still out on episode 5.
Actually, speaking of episode 5, I probably won't be able to participate in this next week.
Oh,
as I am leaving to go to Florida.
Leaving on a jet plane?
I will actually be in Florida on that Saturday. So... yeah, which is the day we record this.
I work from... We can talk about this off air, but I work from home next week, so we might be able to find some time anyway to do this.
Word.
So, just so that we don't miss one.
Yeah.
So yeah, those who are listening, whether the 5th or very far in the future, if you have anything you'd like us to discuss, throw it in the comments down below. We will try and get that into whatever the next episode is that we're recording, whether it's the 5th episode or the 936th, whatever the case might be. Thank you all again for watching, and I guess we'll see you all next time.
Later.
Bye.